You're all set, Herb. You're good to go.
All righty. Welcome to the Zoning Board of Appeals meeting for January 28th, 2026. To all persons interested in or affected by the actions of the Zoning Board of Appeals, you are hereby notified pursuant to Section 11 of Chapter 48 of the General Laws of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts and all amendments. Excuse me. All amendments thereto. The public hearing on the following appeals will be held on Wednesday, January 28, 2026, at the time indicated. Zoning Board of Appeals public hearings will be held by remote participation methods. Public access to this meeting shall be provided in the following manner. 1, the meeting will be televised live via Xfinity Channel 18 or High Definition Channel 1072. It may also be accessed via the Government Access Channel live stream on the Town of Barnstable's website at https://barnstable.cablecast.tv/internet channel/watch-now. Or 2, real-time access to the Zoning Board of Appeals meeting is available utilizing the Zoom link or telephone number and meeting ID provided below. Public comment can be addressed to the Zoning Board of Appeals by utilizing the Zoom link or telephone number and the meeting ID provided below. There are 2 options to join the Zoom meeting. You may do so at https://townofbarnstable-us.zoom.us/J_8/81707197773. Meeting ID is 817-0719-7773. Telephone number option is US toll-free 888-475-4499. The meeting ID is the same, 817-0719-7773. Applicants, their representatives, and individuals required or entitled to appear before the Zoning Board of Appeals may appear remotely and may participate through accessing the link or telephone number provided. Documentary exhibits and or visual presentations should be submitted in advance to the meeting to anna.brigham@barnstable.gov so that they may be displayed for remote public access viewing. Copies of the applications are available for review by calling 508-862-4682 or emailing anna.brigham@barnstable.gov. I'll now call the meeting to order. Jacob Dewey is not present. Herbert Bodenseek is present right here. Paul Pinard.
Present.
Aaron Webb. Hey, Aaron. Larry Hurwitz is not present. Manny Alves.
Present.
And Deborah Dworkis.
Here, present.
Did I say that right?
Yes.
Excellent.
Present.
Okay. This meeting of the Zoning Board of Appeals is being recorded and broadcast on the Town of Barnstable's Government Access Channel in accordance with Mass General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 20. I must inquire whether anyone is recording this meeting, and if so, please make their presence known. Hearing none, we will go on with the meeting. First order of business is minutes from November 12th, 2025. Has anyone reviewed those and found any reason not to approve them?
Yeah, this is Paul. I'll abstain since I wasn't there.
Okay.
I'd move that the minutes be...
Do I hear a motion to approve them?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Paul? Paul's abstaining, but Aaron,
I'm in favor, Herb.
Manny,
In favor.
Deborah,
In favor.
and I am in favor. So that passes. The next order of business is old business. Last heard on January 14th, 2026, when it was continued to this date. Members assigned were Jake Dewey, Herb Boneseek, Paul Pinard, Aaron Webb, and Manny Alves. Jake not being here today, we will assign Deborah as a additional. So we have 5 people voting, and Deborah was here for both of those previous meetings, December 10th, 2025 and January 14th, 2026. Okay, so also, I'll leave this up to the applicant, but this is a little bit separate from the other modifications, the new cases. But do you want to hear these, present these all at the same time?
Good evening, Mr. Chairman. For the record, Patrick Nickerson, attorney for the applicant, Ashley Manor LLC. Yes, it is our preference to have them heard together. We would defer to the chair whether you take all 4 of them last and let the other folks get on with their business, or bring the other 3 forward and we can make our presentation. We entirely defer to you.
You're going to take that long, huh? That might not be a bad idea. How does the rest of the board feel about that? And Anna?
It's totally up to the board.
Let's just do Ashley Manor first.
No, well, I'm sorry, Mr. Chairman. Oh,
Hi.
yeah, do all 4 of them. Do all 4 first.
Yes.
Yes, I concur. Let's roll with it, as it is old business to begin with. So,
Yeah. Okay. Proceed.
So, Mr. Cherry, just read them in, please.
Oh, right. Of course. Getting rusty here. Okay, so the old business appeal number 2025-035. Ashley Manor LLC has applied for a special permit pursuant to section 240-11C6, condition uses in the RB, RD1, and RF2 districts, bed and breakfast. The applicant is seeking to change the use from group home to owner-occupied bed and breakfast. The subject property is located at 3660 Main Street, Barnstable, Mass, as shown on Assessor's Map 317 as parcel 021-001. It's located in the Residence F2 RF2 zoning district. And I have to scroll way down here. Yes.
Mr. Chairman, just a point of order here. It may be easy for everyone to deal with this one separately from the rest, since this appears to be fairly clean, if I can use that word, and then read the other ones in as a group together. That would just be a suggestion for me.
Yeah, I was thinking that too, because they are a little bit, they're related by location, but they're kind of different issues. This one's just a change of use, and the others are modifications to existing variances. What does anybody else?
I just think, again, the presentation is going to come from the attorney. It would make sense in my eyes that he rolls through the entire presentation one time, and combines, because they are so intertwined. That's my opinion.
Let's see, who shall I go with, Paul or Aaron? I kind of like going with all 5. I like going with all 5. I agree with you, Aaron.
It might make sense that the attorney Nickerson, jump in here real quick. And again, what's going to be easiest for him in terms of the 4, cases, for lack of a better term.
Thank you, Mr. Webb. As sort of a brief summary to all 4 applications, the applicant is seeking to establish a 6-bedroom bed and breakfast at the property referenced in the legal ad the chairman read. There are, given the nature of the history of the case of the property, if you will, there are some duplicative requests for relief. We've attempted to file for essentially new relief, request for special permit, request for variance, if you will, which would ignore the precedent for the property, but then also apply for transfers of the existing decisions related to the property, the original special permit, and the original variance. So I do feel that making the presentations together and then perhaps voting on some or continuing some or withdrawing some might be the cleanest way to go, because one of the requirements of a special permit is that the application be for 3 bedrooms. We're here seeking 6. So if we were to take these piecemeal, a question from a board member might be, well, how can we grant a special permit when you're
No, that was not my proposal. My proposal was treat old business as old business. That's clean, it's cut, there's precedent, and deal with that, which is very separate from the other 3. Deal with the other 3 as a bunch together. But I think the old business appeal can be handled very quickly, very easily, with not a lot of time, and it is old business.
But I guess what I'm hearing, and I agree, Attorney Nickerson, to say is that the application in the old business request is actually not that simple. That's why he's asking for a variance. He's not the special permit. Well, I don't want to argue the merits, but that one is very different from the other 3, because the variance he's seeking is to vary the terms under which he's seeking the special permit. So I hear you, Paul. I don't know that we can separate them out that way, because we'd start with a stumble. I don't know if you agree, Attorney Nickerson.
Whatever the appellant wants.
Thank you. Yes, it would be our preference to handle them together. Given the issues, it's not a straightforward request, I admit. Given the history here, it's lengthy, so we're certainly happy to be offered to go first, but we're happy to go at the end also, Mr. Chairman, however you'd like to proceed.
I'd like to hear all 4 at the same time, that we might deliberate separately on them. So feel free to take it from here on all 4, please.
Okay, I would just ask, Mr. Chair, that you read.
I have to read the other 3 in.
Yes, thank you.
Okay. Let's see. My printer is in a storage unit, so I am awkwardly going by my computer here. So we've read in 2025-35. The next one is 2025-41. Ashley Manor LLC has applied for modification of special permit number 1998-61B to allow the continued operation of a 6-bedroom bed and breakfast with a maximum of 12 lodgers under new ownership. The relief was originally granted in 1998, and the special permit has been previously modified in 2020, 2001, 2004, and 2019 to transfer it to each successive owner. The subject property is located at 3660 Main Street, Barnstable, Mass. As shown on Assessor's Map 317 as parcel 021-001. It's located in the Residence F2 RF2 zoning district. Appeal number 2025-042. Ashley Manor LLC has petitioned for a modification of variance number 1998-62B to allow the continued operation of a 6-bedroom bed and breakfast with a maximum of 12 lodgers under new ownership. This relief was originally granted in 1998, and the variance has been previously modified in 2001, 2004, and 2019 to transfer it to each successive owner. The subject property is located, surprise, at 3660 Main Street, Barnstable, Mass. As shown in Assessor's Map 317 as parcel 021-001. It's located in the Residence F2 RF2 zoning district. Next is appeal number 2025-043. Ashley Manor has petitioned for a variance pursuant to section 240-11C 6B2. Conditional uses bed and breakfasts. The petitioner seeks relief for the maximum number of bedrooms and the maximum number of lodgers permitted in a bed and breakfast. The petitioner proposes to operate a 6-bedroom bed and breakfast with a maximum 12 lodgers, where 3 bedrooms and 6 lodgers are allowed. The relief was originally granted in 1998 and was requested in the alternative to the petitioner's request for modification of the 1998 variance. The subject property is located at 3660 Main Street, Barnstable, Mass, as shown on Assessor's Map 317 as parcel 021-001. It's located in the Residence F2 RF2 zoning district. Please proceed, Attorney Nickerson.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Again, for the record, Patrick Nickerson representing Ashley Manor LLC in these 4 applications. With me also is Dan Ojala. He prepared a site plan for us that's in your file and your materials. We also have Virginia Donovan, who is here along with her husband, Philippe Chieri, as well as Kai Cole, who you last heard from 2 meetings ago based upon the initial application 2025-035. We did submit a memorandum in advance of the hearing. As I alluded to earlier, in 1998, there was an original special permit, an original variance granted relating to the property, allowing 6 guest bedrooms and up to 12 lodgers on site. That was the historical use of the property from approximately 1985 all the way until 2025. 2023, where the property was briefly used as a group home. And now the current record owner, Ashley Manor LLC, our clients are seeking to essentially reopen the bed and breakfast, which has been operating for the better part the past 5 decades. My clients here do have experience managing properties. Together, they manage rental properties, improve historic properties in Barnstable. Kai Cole and Virginia Donovan are both Barnstable High graduates, though I did have the sense not to ask in which year they graduated. In many ways, this is sort of a homecoming to reopen the Ashley Manor, which is a contributing structure within the National Historic District, and reopen the bed and breakfast, which is part of Philippe and Virginia's retirement plan. As I detailed in the memorandum, the main house consists of approximately 5,400 square feet and dates back to at least 1720. It's one of the oldest homes in Barnstable. The interior works high finish quality and is worthy of preservation. The grounds include old trees, a classic garden, a tennis court. Given the age of the home and its size, a considerable amount of resources are needed to preserve it, and its preservation is crucial for the historic structure and its contributing status. The income from the bed and breakfast is necessary to support the structure and to preserve it in its current state. You heard from Kai Cole a few meetings ago where she proposed to have 5 guest bedrooms in the main house, 1 guest bedroom in the cottage. That cottage dates back to 1935 approximately, was rented as a 1-bedroom home by Donald Bain, the applicant under the 1998 permit. No cooking facilities are proposed in any of these rooms. The remaining requirements of section 240-11C6 are all met. Those are detailed in the staff report. And there are a number of arguments for both the special permit modification, the variance modification, the special permit, and the variance that all sort of overlap with each other. So I'll just sort of take them together and then we can collectively decide what relief will be granted. For a special permit modification, I'm specifically speaking to appeal number 2025-41. as section 240-125C requires a board to find the application falls within a category of the zoning ordinance that specifically authorizes the zoning board to grant a special permit. And section 240-125 allows for a modification of special permit. The board must find the proposal, based upon the evidence presented, does not derogate from the spirit and intent of the zoning ordinance, does not substantially more detrimental to the public good or the neighborhood affected. We submit that the issuance of a special permit and modification of special permit satisfies the prongs of 240-125C. There are no proposed site changes, no proposed exterior changes to the main house or cottage, and the board can find the proposal does not derogate from the spirit and intent of the ordinance where it's been the practice for the greater part of the last 4 decades. With the variance, and I'm speaking to appeal number 2025-42, section 240-125B1C provides the zoning board of appeals is empowered to authorize a variance where owing conditions especially affecting such parcel or such building, but not affecting generally the zoning district in which it's located, a literal enforcement of the provisions of this chapter would involve a substantial hardship, financial or otherwise, to the appellant where desirable relief may be granted without substantial detriment to the public good and without nullifying or substantially derogating from the intent or purpose of this chapter, but not otherwise. The proposal is to modify the variance, the original variance, 1998-62B, transfer it, and also to allow the 5 guest bedrooms in the main house and the 1 guest bedroom in the cottage, as was proposed by Kai Cole at the last meeting she addressed the board. The board has previously found in 1998 that sufficient variance conditions existed to grant relief from the maximum allowable guest bedrooms and the maximum allowable lodgers. So we rely on those findings from the 1998 variance and add that the cottage itself has unique features in terms of its shape and location, which abuts a long, winding strip of land used by a driveway of 3676 Main Street, and that these unique features are specific to the property and do not generally affect the district in which they're located, and that there would be a financial hardship absent the ability to rent these rooms, 5 in the main house, 1 in the cottage. Those are essentially the arguments for the grant of a new special permit, modification of special permit, a new variance, and modification of existing variance. I'd be happy to turn it over to the board for any questions. Ask Dan Ojala to pull up the site plan if that was so desired, and take your board's feedback on the presentation. Thank you.
Thank you. Board, do we have questions? I'm sure we do.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman. Yeah, Aaron, go ahead.
Oh, go ahead, Paul.
Just to clarify, I want to make sure that I understand what we have here and what's requested. As I understand it, there's 4 requests. One is to transfer the ownership. One is to change the use from a group home to a bed and breakfast. The third one is to change it from 3 bedrooms to 6 bedrooms. And the fourth is to change it from 6 bedrooms, 6 lodgers in 1 dwelling to 12 lodgers in 2 dwellings. Are those the 4 things that we're ruling here?
So this was filed, Mr. Pennard, as 2 modifications of original decisions, the 1998 special permit and a 1998 variance. What also has been filed is an application for special permit and an application for variance, almost ignoring the previous decisions altogether. Given that there was a temporary use as a group home in between the extremely long time the property was used as a bed and breakfast, procedurally, we thought to file almost 2 sets of competing applications, one for modification, one seeking new relief in the terms of a new special permit, new variance to cover any procedural basis. But yes, the requests are to operate a 6-bedroom bed and breakfast.
But wait a minute. Just answer my question. Are those the four things, regardless of the procedures? Transfer ownership, change the use from a group home to a B&B, to go from 3 bedrooms to 6 bedrooms, and to change it from 6 lodgers in 1 dwelling to 12 lodgers in 2 dwellings. Those are the four things, regardless of the procedure, right? Did I miss any?
There would also be the number of bedrooms.
3 bedrooms to 6 bedrooms.
Correct.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. That's what I just wanted to make sure that I knew what all these 4 procedures were about. Thank you.
Okay, Aaron?
I was just gonna ask if Mr. Ojala would pull up the site plan. Maybe Anna could share a screen so that, because one of the concerns that we had the last time was parking and where, these things were gonna all sort of take place on the lot if we expanded it from the 3 to 6. So could that happen? Please?
Sure.
And in the meantime, can I ask Attorney Nickerson a question regarding the group home? How many bedrooms were used during that, excuse me, use?
That was a Dover Amendment type use that did not require any zoning decision from this board. I can't speak to specifically how many bedrooms were used, but it's my understanding that the cottage was used as sort of as a quarters for one of the students who experienced the greatest amount of independence within the program, and that a certain number of bedrooms were used. I can't exactly say how many, but
Yeah.
in the main house.
They were all used. They were all used, and the person who was in charge of the students lived in the main house.
For the record, could you identify yourself and your address, please?
Thank you, Paul.
Who, me?
Yes, Kai.
Yes.
Oh, I'm Kai. Hi, sorry. Well, I'm with Ashley Manor, LLC. So 3660 Main Street, Barnstable, Mass. 02630. Yeah, they used all the rooms in the house. And again, that was the one thing I was going to say, is that you said we're going from 3 to 6 with the parking and stuff, but it's always been that all of those rooms were used for the bed and breakfast. So it's not like we're expanding. It's just that we are asking for the variance because it's almost like what Andrew, Patrick was saying, is that it is starting from scratch in a way. So, but it was always being used with 6 bedrooms, and we've always had enough parking for all of that. So this is just a drawing of what's existing. We're not adding anything. This isn't new construction.
Thank you, Kai. Anna, I have it pulled up. If I could share
Oh,
my
you do?
screen. Yeah,
I can't seem to pull it up. I apologize.
that's okay. I should have probably led with that. I have this ready to go, teed up. So if I could share my screen, I can show you the site plan, and I can take.
Sorry about
Yeah,
that.
we're all set.
Okay. Dan, do you want to take us through the plan?
Sure. For the record, Dan Ojala, I'm a land surveyor and civil engineer with Down Cape Engineering in Yarmouthport. And this is a familiar site to me. I live down the road in Comaquid, and actually surveyed this, the original plan, when Don Bain was the owner back in 1998. And it's very similar to what was there then. We actually had proposed a little bit of an addition back then, but there's a good site distances, a paved driveway up into the site. Many of the site areas pitched to low spots, so there's not a lot of drainage running down the driveway. The gravel parking on the right there has been there for a number of years. There's also a potential expansion area beside the shed there. You could simply nose in another 4 cars if there ever was a reason for it, an overflow event or something. So it's good, decent parking. There's the 2 to the north of the building, and then another few on the west. So you can see from the parking calculations there, we've got 12 spaces provided where the code would require 10. It's a very low impact native type design. Again, there's a low point near the shed that the water drains up to, and a low point in the center of the island that some water drains into and sheets off to the west. So it's well drained. The septic system back then was completely adequate. We did an analysis for almost 1,700 gallons of flow. I know you didn't ask about that, but just to touch on it, it's a very healthy septic system, and there's a separate 3-bedroom for the 1-bedroom cottage. So plenty of septic capacity. The sewer isn't coming up this way anytime soon, but it's a big lot. And there's adequate parking and plus some overflow areas. So in my opinion, quite safe. And again, it's been for this use as long as I remember. And be glad to answer any questions if you have them.
Aaron?
I do, yeah. So I guess I'm just sort of slightly confused here, Attorney Nickerson. Maybe you can help us. I can't find it on the town assessor's office site. So the property was sold in 2024 to the owners of the group home, am I correct? Or 2023, somewhere in that range?
Yes.
And then repurchased recently by Virginia and Philippe to when? In 2025?
This
Ish.
past spring, and
Okay.
COD under the name of Ashley Manor LLC. Yes.
And with the idea that they would they purchased it without sort of understanding that it had lost its right for 6-bedroom inn B&B kind of thing?
I don't
I
look
mean,
at
I
it
can't
as
imagine did they purchase it sort of assuming that they wouldn't be here?
No. No, we understood exactly what was going on, and we did a lot of research, and we've talked to everybody in the town, and we did the best we could do to get all the data. But our intention is to make it a bed and breakfast, and so we've just sort of been pushing forward on that. But we understood that we lost our right, we thought, to be a bed and breakfast because of the group home status. But we have discovered lately that that's not actually true, because it wasn't that many years between the people selling it and us buying it, or people buying it and us buying it. But no, we weren't that naive that we thought that.
I'm not. Yeah, forgive me. I'm not trying to. I'm certainly not pointing that out. I just.
No.
It
No, we
seems
knew,
like.
and we've just done our research, and we've been trying really hard because we really believe in Ashley Manor, and we want to make it into a bed and breakfast again. So.
Yeah. Yeah. I will go on record at this point having no issue with this whatsoever. It's been this way for decades. It's a 6-bedroom inn that was granted, a variance by this board and a special permit to allow for the usage in the past. It certainly changed hands for a brief period of time, but I can't imagine us as a board would renege on what it's been over the course of basically its life, or I shouldn't say that, but certainly in the last 50 years. So I will go on record as in support. Now, I understand there's some procedural things we need to work through, and we'll help to do that as best I can, but certainly would like to hear other concerns from the board regarding the applications and so forth for this usage. So we have several B&Bs in town that have more than 3 bedrooms and more than 6 lodgers. And again, Route 6A, Barnstable Village is certainly a great place for it, and it has proven itself over the life of its 50 years to to work there. Mr. Ojala is clearly, knowledgeable about the conditions of the lot and the septic and everything else that's going on there. So the parking was raised at the last meeting when this first was introduced to us, but clearly the parameters are exceeded with the 12 spaces versus the 10 that are required. So yeah, I just have no issue. Again, the only issue I have, I guess, is procedurally how we can push this through. So I'll rely on the rest of my board to help, or our board to help me understand that, I guess.
Mr. Chairman and Aaron, I agree with you 100%, Aaron, but there is one difference here. I just wanted to point it out. The difference is from last time it was a bed and breakfast, and this time is the number of buildings, which is addressed specifically in the code. So that's one of the things they're requesting, is to have the 6 bedrooms in 2 buildings instead of 1 building. And that's the foyer issue, et cetera, et cetera. But I don't see that interfering with any of this, and would agree with you, Aaron, to let's go.
Let me back up though real quick, because I was unaware of that and I apologize. So Kai, so the 5 bedrooms will be a change on the interior main house, and the 6 bedroom would be again, change from what was originally there to moving it to the cottage. No, it's still remaining.
It's all the same. Nothing has changed.
So I don't know where that.
Then why is there a statement in there that the 6th bedroom was the foyer in the original application?
Because that was what we learned from the town, was why it couldn't be more bedrooms. So that's why it can't be 7 bedrooms, because they share an entrance that's the upstairs in the main house. And so they always kind of sold that as a suite, like a family suite, and it's 2 bedrooms, and but they share a bath. Yeah.
But if I may, the prior variance allowed 6 bedrooms in the main house. I'll stop. Right. In fact, the variance decision goes on to say that the cottage is not a historical building, does not fit within the language of the ordinance that allows bed and breakfast in historical buildings so as to preserve them. You're proposing to add a 6th bedroom in the cottage. That is a difference.
Well, we're not technically adding it. It always was used that way.
It wasn't approved as that.
No, it was not approved that way.
Okay, I see what you're saying.
Because in attorney, this is actually, if I may, let's just unpack this a little bit, because I think I agree with the board, but there's a lot of requests here, and Attorney Nickerson, I guess, help me understand this. So the transfer of the special permits, I understand you want those, but you're also asking for a variance. By the way, it's not ownership with transferring. It's the special permits to a new owner. Do we need them, Attorney Nickerson, if you get your variance?
Do we need the transfers if we get the variance?
I'm just trying to simplify this, because
we would not. We would not, except that historically they have been transferred for so many years, and there are a number of conditions. Perhaps the board could see some benefit for those conditions continuing.
All right, so maybe it's redundant, but I take your point, because I too was trying to understand why it was done in the past. But okay, so the transfer of the special permit seems pretty straightforward. And I totally agree with what Paul and Aaron are saying, but I'm stuck in the variance, because there's a language in that variance decision of this board that specifically says, and I'm reading verbatim now, the renting of up to 6 bedrooms for a bed and breakfast use is allowed in the main house only, without new construction. The cottage may not be used as part of the bed and breakfast operation for rental to lodgers, or used as a separate bedroom for lodging purposes. I guess that's where I got stuck. And that's directly verbatim from the last variance decision. What has changed? Why is that not? If you transfer it, by the way, which is what you're asking, that carries over. So you asking for a variance from that variance?
It is a little convoluted, and essentially, yes, we are asking for the transfer of the special permit and the transfer of the variance, except as such needed that amended condition number 2 at the bottom of the decision to allow the 1 bedroom in the cottage to be rented.
I guess that's where I get stuck. It was
Me too.
very persuasive to the board back then that they added it as a special amendment condition that the cottage not be used for B&B purposes. Now you're asking us to undo that, and I'm trying to understand what has changed.
What has changed generally would be the local appetite for accessory structures on the lot. The last time Kai Cole was here, I believe, Mr. Chairman, Mr. Dewey at the time said, well, maybe you could consult with a land use attorney and determine it could be used as an accessory dwelling unit. Well, we looked into that, and I don't think it could be used as an accessory dwelling unit. One, because it's not a dwelling, and that it doesn't have independent cooking or kitchen facilities there. Those are prohibited under the B&B regs, if you will. Second, an accessory dwelling unit could not be utilized on the same lot which any commercial use is occurring. You could use an accessory dwelling unit on the same lot at which there is a home occupation, but those requirements are incredibly specific, one of them being not more than 20% of the total gross floor area. Of course, the number of bed and breakfast area far exceeds 20% when considering the 5 bedrooms being used throughout the main house and common areas, et cetera. So, the cottage has been there. It was originally constructed in 1935. It has, we believe, been used as a bedroom accessory building for the better part of 40 years and cannot be converted into an ADU without conflicting with the ADU bylaws. So as it sits, it really has no ability to generate income for maintaining the main house, despite the fact that the structure and its interior have existed for so long that they're not subject to zoning enforcement. They're essentially exempt under Massachusetts 40A Section 6, 40A Section 7. So it can't be compelled to be removed. It can't be converted into an ADU. And if the condition is not modified in the variance, cannot be rented as a bedroom pursuant to the bed and breakfast operating in the main house. So there's really, and through no fault of the applicant who purchased the property believing we can run a 6-bedroom bed and breakfast, 5 in the main house, 1 in the cottage, as has been done since the beginning of relevant time, at least in her mind and in my client's minds. We feel that variance relief is justified from that condition, particularly given the variance conditions previously outlined. To find that variance conditions existed to deviate from the 3 guest bedroom maximum to 6, and then find that there were no variance conditions related to the cottage, we submit the board has authority and jurisdiction to modify that condition to allow the use of the 1 bedroom in the cottage, as has been done mostly for the last 40 to 50 years.
So if I may, has this property been operated as a B&B with 6 bedrooms in the main house, if you know?
Actually, in the decision, when Donald Bain presented it, he had represented to the board, it's in the decision, that from 1985 to 1998, he had utilized 5 guest bedrooms in the main house and the 1 guest bedroom in the cottage. That's how it was initially presented, along with his request to add 2 more bedrooms to the main house, which idea was initially abandoned.
So the main house does not support 6 bedrooms and 12 lodgers. Is that what you're saying?
Kai Cole is has represented, and she can explain the situation in more detail, is that for all intents and purposes, the bed and breakfast operation can only actually rent 5 bedrooms. Kai, is that right?
Yes, technically that's all we can do.
Okay, and the reason is that that there is an adjoining door or a room which has privacy concerns if you were to rent both of those bedrooms to separate guests. Is that it?
Yeah, and it was something that I originally wanted to present and try to do by just having another door, a different door going into one of them and a different door going in the other. But when we were talking to different people in the town, it just seemed like that would be so much harder to, get past. So that's why we're just going back to the original 6 bedrooms that were rentable for all those years. But
Yeah,
technically, yes, you could do 6. It's just that we can't because of the code, because of the building code.
This is Paul. I don't want to, I want to make sure that what we do is legal. And one of the things it appears that we have to do is to approve the separate cottage as a room as part of this whole affair, which would require a variance. I'm not sure. Well, I guess I would like a ruling. Can we, without having that as a separate variance request, can we bundle that into what's on the table in front of us that's been requested?
Are we deliberating as a board, or is that a question for Attorney Nickerson?
Yeah, I guess it's a question to the board. Probably should be part of the deliberating the board. I mean, I don't have an issue with it. The issue I have is a legal issue in terms of the record and what we are, what our authority gives us the right to do. And I'm not sure it goes that far without a separate variance request. That's all.
Well, I think the variance request before us, and Attorney Nickerson, correct me if I'm wrong, he's asking us to renew, actually, let me back up. That decision says explicitly, part of the reason we're even revisiting it is because typically variances run with the land. You wouldn't need to renew it. But that variance explicitly says it's not transferable. It does not run with the land. Okay, so he needs it renewed. I understand that part. And he's asking us in this new variance request, and again, Attorney Nickerson, I don't mean to speak for you, tell me if I'm wrong, to renew it by removing the condition that the then board added. The condition being that the bedrooms to be used for the B&B operation must be exclusively located in the main house. He wants us to take that out to allow the cottage to become the 6th bedroom. I think the board has the authority to do that. I am troubled, however, by the fact that the board back then, again, being honest to the intent of the ordinance, which says the reason the ordinance allows for B&B operations is for, in larger homes, is to provide an adaptive reuse for these structures, and so doing encourage the maintenance and enhancement of older buildings. And the board then did not think that the cottage qualified for this use. And I guess I hear you, Attorney Nickerson, that it can't be an ADU, and maybe you're stuck, and maybe that's the argument. There's no more better use or other use for this. But I guess I'm hesitant to undo what the board went out of its way to put as a condition. Those are my thoughts. And I agree with everything that's been said, that this makes sense. It's been used this way in the past, but there's this one impediment that the board in 1998 went out of its way to make clear that it was not its intent to allow, and that is the use of the cottage in the B&B operation.
Doesn't it count that it's a lot older now? Because that was 1998, so it's a lot older. It's an older building.
Aren't we all?
No, that's not going to work.
No, I want to work with you. I get. I'm actually persuaded by the argument that there is no other use for that space, if not this. And again, I don't mean to make the case for you, Attorney Nickerson, but I think that's what I heard you say.
That's exactly right. And, the use of the cottage does support the main house, which is a historic building. Because the income is necessary from the cottage in order to preserve it. It's located on the same lot. It's owned by the same folks who are here before you this evening.
Do you have any insight? I mean, I wish we could go back in time or had video to understand why it is that the board added, and they added it at the end of the decision. They called it additional modified condition for condition number 2. In other words, there was a condition number 2, and they added an additional modification to make it clear that the cottage may not be used as part of the bed and breakfast operation.
I'd have to roll back the tape because you read the decision up until that point when you're considering how Donald Bain described using the main house and the structure, and it certainly doesn't read that way. It actually reads like that it would be allowed, but for the last amended condition. I'm not sure how that amended condition came to be. I'd have to read the tape. Dan, are you trying to show the board something?
Yeah, through the chair, Dan Ojala again. I just want to point out to the board that it is a cute little dollhouse
It's
of a cottage.
cute.
It's got the gables on it. It's historic looking, and were it not for the ability of that, they can't utilize one of the bedrooms in the other house because of the the walk-through situation in the shared bathroom. Bain had proposed perhaps in addition to that, which I think was approved, but he never pulled the trigger on it. But in any event, it seemed to me that you could look at that since 1935, the cottage has been here. It was expanded a little bit, but it's in the character of the house, but not for a little portico connecting them. We wouldn't even be having the discussion. And it's kind of an unfortunate situation that one of the bedrooms is flawed because of the lack of a bathroom and the historic nature, so that perhaps the board could find their way to approving a variance due to those unique conditions that, it's existed, it's old, it has some use of it. It fits the character, and I think the spirit and intent of the bylaw, and they do have a real hardship with that other room condition, so they kind of need this to rent out to pay the mortgage. So
let me try it this way. Let me try it this way, see if it gets us there. The board in 98 authorized this to be used for up to 6 bedrooms and no more than 12 lodgers. By the way, that is still what you're proposing to continue, correct?
Correct.
Okay. At the time, the board intended for the 6 bedrooms to be in the main house exclusively. But what I'm hearing is that a 6-bedroom, to the code conditions and the historical nature of the building, cannot be maintained in the main house. That
Correct.
In order to have 6 bedrooms as approved by the board, follow the syllogism here, the only way to do it is to have it in the cottage, which in a way mandates that condition be removed.
That's correct.
All right. Was the inability to operate a 6-bedroom due to recent code changes, or was in 1988? In 1988, was it possible to have a 6-bedroom in the main house?
my guess is through the chair that they were planning on doing some renovations to make that happen, but just didn't have the financial ability to do it at that time. That would be my guess.
So is it a financial impediment or a code impediment that won't allow you to have a 6-bedroom in the house?
Well, they were actually requesting to have 8 bedrooms in the house, and they were going to do an addition. So that was,
bedrooms, yeah.
yeah, that was what they were originally trying to do. And then they just abandoned that because it was just too hard, I think, from what I'm gathering, that people, like it just, maybe financially it was too hard, or maybe they just met a lot of resistance. I'm not sure. Okay. But I know that was the plan, to do 8.
All right, one last question, then I'll stop talking because I don't mean to. Attorney, this is for the Attorney Nickerson. Do you agree that the first request here, this is 20, the one that got continued? I can't get there. And frankly, I don't think you need it, because what if you're intending to operate a 6-bedroom up to 12 lodgers B&B, why are you asking for a special permit to allow 3?
That would be 2025-35.
Yeah.
This was filed prior to my involvement.
Understood. But do you agree that that could be withdrawn? And if you transfer the other special permits and the variance as modified, that you would get what you need? I'm just procedural.
I would agree with that proposition, as well as the same proposition for 2025-43, which was the application for, well, maybe not that one, but 2025-35, I would agree it can be withdrawn, yes.
No, 43 you need, because that's that's the variance. That
Yes. So 25-35 could be withdrawn.
All right. I think I'm there. I think I get it.
Well, if I may,
Could I just, I'm sorry.
I have a question first, and I'm the chair.
But Aaron has had his hand up.
35 is to change it from a group home to an owner-occupied bed and breakfast. It doesn't have anything to do with numbers of bedrooms or anything else. Would you agree, Attorney Nickerson, that that is necessary and shouldn't be withdrawn?
I think we're okay with withdrawing it, because we're not seeking a change of non-conforming use to another non-conforming use. This would be a straight application for special permit pursuant to 240-11C6, provided that 2025-41 modification of special permit and the other applications are granted. We wouldn't need relief on 2025-35.
Okay. So 2025-41 then would kick in and.
Correct.
Well,
Yes.
let me ask a question, Mr. Chairman. What is this? Is this a group home now, or is it a bed and breakfast now?
Currently, it's not being used as anything except a residence.
Well, the last use. I mean, is this classified by the town as a group home or a bed and breakfast?
Good question.
Well, the town actually figured out that because it wasn't that much time, we don't have to do like a site plan review. We don't have to do all that, because it wasn't that much time that it was a group home. So it kind of came in under what we thought. So we thought we were going to have to do a lot more stuff, but we don't.
That's not my question. My question is legally.
I think legally that is what Maggie figured out, is that it would be considered more of a transfer than, because of the short amount of time that it was a group home, we can still do the transfer, basically.
If it required a change of use originally from a bed and breakfast to a group home, then it officially is a group home, and we officially must transfer it from a group home back to a bed and breakfast.
Yeah, that's what we're trying to do. Yeah,
well,
but
okay,
we don't have to do some of the steps that most people would have to do if it was a brand new bed and breakfast and an antique home.
I'm just asking, per what the law on the books, it's registered. If this is registered now as a group home to the town, then
I think technically it's a residence. Like,
no, this isn't a catch.
We're just arguing about nothing here. I have a suggestion. I have my hand up for about half an hour here. 2 things. Attorney Nickerson, any chance of withdrawing without prejudice and reworking this to make this simpler? That's my question number 1, right? to try to clarify some of this stuff, so we're not wrapped around trying to modify. Although your request to modify the variance, couldn't that also include modifying the variance condition that states 6 bedrooms in the main house? One of your applications, I can't remember the number here, but does ask for a modification of the variance that was granted in 1998, if I believe that's the date correct. Can't we add that onto the modification of condition number 2 that stated 6 bedrooms in the main house? But, so that's one part of my question. My next part is, what's going on in the main house with the owner quarters? Are there 2 bedrooms of owner's quarters that are these? No, where are the owner's quarters?
Owner's quarters are on the first floor. They're in like a wing. And so that includes the kitchen, because in a bed and breakfast, you're not allowed to have access for the renters to a kitchen. So that's like a little suite. It's got a living room. It's got like an adorable little bedroom, and then it has a kitchen.
Okay, and then the cottage isn't modifiable. I don't know if that's the right word, but to modify that into owner quarters.
Yeah, I know. That's a very interesting. We did do research on that, and it has to be in the main. I guess it just has to be in the main space, probably for safety reasons. But I don't think it has to do with the kitchen. It's just more that it needs to be where like the majority of the lodgers are. I mean, I think that the little cottage was used for like honeymoon, honeymoon suite and stuff like that.
Yeah, I mean, there are certain bed and breakfasts where the owners don't occupy the main part of the residence. So I don't think that's
might be a better situation. Like probably be better.
Again, I'm trying to get past this point of, is there a way to modify what's currently there to fit it again, besides this awkward 2-bedroom, 1-door issue, to modify the interior space of the main house to include 6 bedrooms? I don't know, because there's no plan. I can't see, I'm not an architect. I don't know.
You're not wrong. You're not wrong. And I am an architect. So, you're not wrong.
Yeah.
But I think you could do that easily. I think you would just have to separate out the kitchen. So the kitchen is the problem, because the kitchen is in the owner's quarters. And you're not allowed to have a kitchen with renters.
No, I get that. I mean,
but you could have a separate entrance. You could go from the outside. Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. You could totally do it. I just don't think it's code right now. So it's not, from what I know and from what I've researched, and we use Catalyst architects, local, you can't do it.
Mr. Webb, to answer your question,
I think
I'm sorry.
A simple question of height. Sorry.
No,
I haven't forgotten about it. We'll get to you in a minute.
Okay.
Yeah, no, that's okay.
Mr. Webb, if there's a way to streamline this, I think we certainly can do it. That would be withdrawing application 2025-35. And then if the board felt so inclined to grant the requested relief, it would grant modification of special permit, would grant the modification of variance, and it would grant the variance with the last 2 reliefs excusing the amended condition 2 that Manny Alves was referencing related to the use of the cottage.
But we still don't need to grant the initial plain variance by itself, do we, Attorney Nickerson? Because it's the initial variance says 6 bedrooms, 12 lodgers. So I think can't we get rid of that variance request as well if we modify the initial granted variance?
If the initial granted variance was modified such to remove that amended condition 2, then yes, I'd agree. 2025-43 could also be withdrawn without question.
Again, to me, that I believe simplifies it. We go ahead and change, and if the board's comfortable with that, I don't know the answer, and certainly we don't have a definitive way of defining why they added that per se. But I think we're all comfortable with the 6-bedroom being in the cottage. We've gotten supporting information from not only the property owners, but the site plan professional and Attorney Nickerson that it has been in use, and I think we're all okay with that. So somehow we need to, in my opinion, work on the modification of the granted variance to, change the wording of condition number 2 and modify the special permit or to allow it to, be transferable with the new tenant. Is that correct? I lost myself there, but yeah.
That's essentially it, yes.
Why do we want to eliminate 2025-035? I mean, 035 says it is now registered as a group home. So they're asking the board for a special permit to make it a B&B, change the use. Well, we have to rule on that one regardless, don't we?
Well, you get to the same place if you renew the special permit from 98 that allowed it as a use as a B&B. It's redundant. I hear you because it uses the word use, but if you renew the earlier special permit, you get to the same place. Because the special permit allowed the use to be as a bed and breakfast.
Okay.
Excuse me.
I hear you, though.
Manny?
I hear you. And maybe it's redundant, and maybe we should just treat them all as a package. I think there's different ways to get to the same place here.
Hi, Manny, were you able to, I'll confess that I did not review the 2001, 2004, and 2019 modified permits, whether they be the variance or the special permit. But for all we know, though, it may have been modified to include the cottage at that point, because it sounds like it has been used, like the applicant said, as a honeymoon suite.
The latest decision is 98, Herb, and that's the one that contains that limitation. So even if it was done before in 98, the board put that condition in. But I guess I'm hearing evidence that says that this would be consistent. Well, see, let me back up. The board was concerned because of the ordinance language that says the goal of allowing B&Bs is to preserve historical structures and allow them to continue and so on. And they didn't think that this is how I read it anyway, that the cottage qualified as a historical structure. That's why they said any bedrooms are to be maintained. But I think I agree with Attorney Nickerson that the point is support. If you're to generate enough finances, enough money to support the continuation of these historical buildings, and if the only way to do it on the present circumstances is to operate the 6th bedroom, which had been approved, out of the cottage, I think it deviates somewhat with what the board wrote, but I think it achieves the same goal. That is, generate enough cash flow to support the continuation of the preservation of the historical building. I think that's how I get that.
Manny, I'm there too, as long as it's conditioned with the present. I mean, can we condition this with the present ownership, or do we condition it as long as it remains a B&B forever? It can use the 6th, or do we have to condition it at all?
I think it's if we renew the prior variance, it has a provision that says it's not transferable. So if there's new ownership, they'd have to come back.
Which means you all get to see me again.
Well, hopefully not.
No, the reason for that, Mr. Pinard, Mr. Bodenseek, Mr. Alves, is that the town and the powers that be, when they wrote the bylaw in 1986, thought folks who are operating a B&B ought to come forward and tell us who they are, be of good moral character, and all my clients certainly are. That's the reason these conditions don't run with the land, so that property changes hands. You don't know who's running the operations, what's going on. It's the reason why we need to come back to you for the relief.
The zoning lawyer's full employment.
Could I just ask that, would the bedroom in the cottage satisfy a bed and breakfast definition of a bedroom, i.e. it has no access to the kitchen?
That's correct, it would.
Yes.
It doesn't currently.
There's no access to the
Nope.
kitchen.
No access.
For that
But
reason
is
too,
there a
it's not,
kitchen in
it's
the cottage?
in the cottage
No.
too, that there's no permanent cooking facilities either, which is why it's not a dwelling. You couldn't.
The only kitchen facilities are in the owner's unit.
Correct.
Okay.
That's the only way it works. Because
Correct.
all right, do you want to reframe the? I mean, I guess I heard Aaron. I don't disagree. Whether it makes sense to repackage this and streamline it, or does it make sense, if you wish, Attorney Nickerson, to reframe the request, let us know what it is you want us to vote on, and proceed tonight. So I guess I'd leave that to the board's discretion as well. Do we
Suppose I'd be ready to
repackage? Let me reframe the question because I wasn't clear. For the board, do we want it to continue this and have Attorney Nickerson come back, as Aaron suggested, with a, pointed request, or do we want to give him an opportunity to reframe the requests, tell us which ones he's withdrawing, which one he's retaining, and have the board vote on the matter tonight?
Number 2.
I don't think there's.
You don't get a vote, Guy. You're not on the board.
I don't think there's anything in the 4. I mean, we're going to have the same arguments one way, or the same debate one way or the other. So, I mean, I don't know what rephrasing it is going to do. We've identified all the issues, and I think we ought to proceed.
I concur with Paul and Kai at this point. I think it's go time. So, I just, I certainly struggle with the language to, I mean, again, a straw poll here, Paul. Herb, are you on board?
I believe so.
Okay.
I think,
And Deborah, you feel pretty strong about modifying a variance to incorporate the 6-bedroom into the cottage?
So we wouldn't propose to change the language. We would leave the language as is, or we would actually change the language to reflect the cottage.
We would change, we would modify the granted variance in 1998 to remove that condition that said all 6 bedrooms had to be in the main house. And we rework the language now to say that 5 bedrooms are in the main house, with the 6th bedroom being in the cottage.
I'd be on board for that.
Okay. So I guess one more time to Attorney Nickerson real quick here to just give us clarity on, what 2, it sounds like we're down to 2 of the 4. And so I think, Anna, procedurally, does Attorney Nickerson need to remove the 2 that are going to be dismissed, or does he do that after we modify?
After, if it pleases the board.
That would be up to Attorney Nickerson.
Yes.
Okay, after makes sense, just to be safe.
Thank you, Mr. Webb and members of the board, for working us through this interesting application. I'd ask the board to grant appeal number 2025-041, modification of special permit number 1998-61B, to transfer it to the name of Ashley Manor LLC. I'd also ask the board to grant appeal number 2025-042, modification of variance number 1998-62B, to transfer it into the name of Ashley Manor LLC, and to modify the additional modified condition for condition 2 in the variance so that it reads as follows. The renting of up to 6 bedrooms for a bed and breakfast use is allowed in the main house and cottage without new construction. The cottage may be used as part of the bed and breakfast operation for rental to lodgers as a separate bedroom for lodging purposes. If the board
As a single bedroom.
As a single bedroom. Thank you, Mr. Bernard.
Second, no, I'm kidding.
Believe that would take care of all the relief we're seeking this evening. Simple 2 transfers with the modification as stated.
All right, so should we vote I would vote
Well, I think we have to close the close the
that's
public
true.
comment and bring it back to the board.
Well, we haven't even opened public comment. I do have another kind of light clarification on the comment that was made by the applicant that the cottage had been used previously as part of the bed and breakfast operation. So at some point, either somebody was in violation, if you want to call it that, of the special permit and variance, or it got added in one of those transfers, the modifications of the special permit and the variance from 1998. It was modified 3 different times. And hopefully during one of those, that was fixed. But I'm just curious, Attorney Nickerson, do you happen to know?
I mean,
the history of the use?
I can't, I really can't opine upon what other applicants or their counsel intended to do with those previous modifications. All I can say is in speaking with Kai Cole, we wanted to be upfront with the board and tell you exactly what we plan to use the cottage for and
Oh, absolutely.
be forthright with you and hopefully the chips would fall in our favor.
It's more of a curiosity at this point, because I think we have it all figured out, a way to proceed. Okay, so let's see. So I guess we'll request public comment at this point. If we're done deliberating there, we can get back to that after public comment if there is any. Doesn't, Anna, do we have any public comments?
We do not have any written public comment, and I don't know if anyone is here to speak.
Well, hearing none, I would move to close public comment.
Second.
All in favor, Paul,
In favor?
Aaron,
Favor.
Manny,
In favor.
and Deborah.
In favor.
Thank you. Now, I guess procedurally, we
Herb, I
would
make a
close,
motion to close the public hearing.
yeah, now procedurally, we would close public hearing as well. Do I hear a motion?
Second.
Okay, so second. All in favor, Paul,
In favor?
Aaron,
In favor.
Manny,
In favor.
Deborah?
In favor.
And I'm in favor. Okay, so anything else we need to deliberate on, Deborah?
No, no. Thank you.
All right. Who would like to make findings? And how are we going to do this? We're going to do 41 first and then 42. And then we're going to withdraw 43 and 35.
Yes.
I think we should get on the record. That's the applicant's wish.
Yes, that's our desire. Yes.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
So
I will take a crack at findings if nobody else wants to.
Okay, you're going to start with 041?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I was going to say, Aaron, I'll split with you if you want to, or you can do both of them. Doesn't matter.
Tag team this one, Paul. I like it.
Go ahead.
I'll take 41. You can take the second one.
Go for it.
Okay, so let me get to my point here. Appeal number 2025-041, Ashley Manor LLC has applied for modification of special permit number 1998-61B to allow the continued operation of a 6-bedroom bed and breakfast with a maximum of 12 lodgers under new ownership. The relief was originally granted in 1998, and the special permit has been previously modified in 2001, 2004, 2019 to transfer it to each successive owner. The subject property is located at 3660 Main Street, Barnstable, Mass. Is shown on Assessor's Map 317 as parcel 021-001. It is located in the Residence F-2, parentheses RF2 zoning district. We are charged with making findings regarding this particular special permit modification request. The application falls within a category specifically accepted in the ordinance for the grant of a special permit, section 240-11. C, parentheses 6, allows the B&Bs with a special permit. After the evaluation of all the evidence presented, the proposal fulfills the spirit and intent of the zoning ordinance and would not represent a substantial detriment to the public good or the neighborhood affected. Again, after presentation from Attorney Nickerson and knowing the history of the property and its use over the last 50 plus years, we certainly agree with that. 6 bedrooms and 12 lodgers is not going to be more detrimental to the public good or the neighborhood affected. The site plan has been reviewed and found approvable with the conditions. Site plan review has issued no detriment letter dated the 3rd, 2025, as the applicant has stated, because of the short life of its most recent use. Site plan has not been required for them to present to continue on with the bed and breakfast after the hiatus for that short period of time. So we are here, and those are my findings regarding the modification of the special permit. Do I have a second?
This is Paul, I second.
I was muted.
Sorry, that's okay.
All in favor? Paul?
In favor?
Aaron?
I'm in favor.
I thought so. Manny?
In favor.
Deborah?
Deborah, you're muted by chance. Oh, sorry, here.
In favor. In favor.
Are you in favor, Deborah?
Yes. In
Okay.
favor.
And I'm in favor. You have conditions, Aaron?
I do. So applicants and Attorney Nickerson, there are conditions 1 through 4 on special permit 2025-041. Just wondering if you've had a chance to review those and if they are acceptable.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, they are.
Mr. Chair, if I may, I think we need to incorporate the conditions from the prior decisions into this. They're not specifically listed in the staff report, but they track the requirements for operation of bed and breakfast, things like filing annual affidavits. And I think that's the way it's been done in the past. Each successive time with the new owner, they added the conditions as imposed in the preceding. Since this is a modification, not a new special permit, Attorney Nickerson, if you would agree, and if the board so inclined, I would recommend that we incorporate those conditions.
Those are acceptable.
Do we have wording for that?
Anna, could you help us with that by chance?
I think we can just include an extra condition that says the conditions outlined in special permit and list, was it
9861B.
61B are incorporated herein, something to that effect without having to repeat them. If
Yep,
that's,
I could do that.
Okay.
Nice.
And that's acceptable, Attorney Nickerson, as far as at this point?
Yes.
Okay. So do I have a second on those 5 conditions, with 5 being the newest one?
Yeah, this is Paul, I second.
Well, we have to have a motion to accept them first. I'll move to accept those conditions. Do we have a second? I guess, Paul?
I second, yes, in favor.
Okay, and now to vote on them, Paul, in favor?
In favor.
Aaron?
Yeah, I'm in favor.
Manny?
in favor.
Deborah?
In favor.
And I'm. Okay, moving on. Now it's Aaron's turn. Aaron's turn to do 2025-42.
Wait a minute, don't we have to approve we need a final motion to approve the special permit.
To
Oh, we do,
Yes,
yes.
please.
Vote on conditions and then vote to grant with conditions.
So
Um,
I move that the board vote in favor of granting the special permit with the findings and conditions just discussed.
I second, this is Paul.
Okay. All in favor, Paul,
In favor.
Aaron,
I am in favor.
Manny,
In favor.
Deborah,
In favor.
and I'm in favor. Okay, one down, one to go. And Aaron, do you want to pick it up with 2025-42?
I'm going to pass it over to my friend Paul.
Okay, thank you, my friend. Appeal number 2025-042 at Ashley Manor LLC. Ashley Manor LLC is positioned for a modification of variance number 1998-62B to allow for a continued operation of a 6-bedroom bed and breakfast with a maximum of 12 lodgers under new ownership. The subject property is located at 3660 Main Street, Barnstable, Mass. It shows Assessor's Map 317 as parcel 21-001 is located in the Residence F2 RF2 zoning district. Okay, variance number 2025-042 is seeking to modify variance 1998-62B to allow the continued operation of a 6-bedroom bed and breakfast with a maximum of 12 lodgers under new ownership. The relief was originally granted in 1998, and the variance has been previously modified in 2001. 2004 and 2019 to transfer to each successive owner. The subject property is located at 3660 Main Street, Barnstable, Mass. All our other conditions are in effect, except for the modification of condition, whatever it is, which we'll come to.
Condition number 2.
Condition number 2. I find that I move to grant the variance number 2025-042. Wait a minute. So my findings are those are my findings with conditions. Wait a minute.
I would second those findings.
No, I think we should make findings to explain why it is we think
Yeah,
that.
I agree with you, Manny.
Not part of the staff report. That's where it's hung up, I think, Paul.
Yeah, the intent of the ordinance of the code is to preserve historically significant structures so that they can exist. We find that the requirements of the 6 bedrooms, including 1 bedroom, which includes 1 bedroom in the separate structure cottage, meets this intent of the code. We find that it should have 6 bedrooms with 12 maximum lodgers under the new ownership in order to meet the intent of the code to preserve historic structures. Manny, is that, what else do we need in here?
I think we should turn in recommended language to restate that condition.
Yeah.
And I think it was, and if you don't mind, Paul.
Please.
It says the renting of up to 6 bedrooms for bed and breakfast use is allowed in the main house and the cottage. And the cottage may be used as part of the bed and breakfast operation for rental to lodgers, or as a separate 1 bedroom for lodging purposes. Attorney Nickerson, I believe that's,
Yes.
as you were speaking, that's the condition.
Yes, thank you.
Annie, do you have that?
Yes, I have that.
Okay. Those are my findings. And that is the motion to grant the variance as
Modification,
modified.
second. You're up there.
Did we lose
I
her?
was muted again. Sorry about that. Okay, all in favor? Paul?
In favor with conditions.
Aaron? Well, this is just the findings. So,
Yeah, the
Aaron?
findings.
Yeah, I'm in favor of the findings thus far.
Manny?
In favor.
Deborah?
In favor.
And I'm in favor. And now we're going to work on the conditions.
Yeah, I have four condition. And well, I think we're okay on these conditions. Am I correct?
Yes, Mr. Bernard.
Okay. Conditions. So I move to grant the variance number 2025-042 as modified, subject to the following four conditions, subject to the following conditions as outlined in the staff report dated whatever, January 15th, I believe, 2026.
Now, do we want to add in a fifth condition to change condition 2 from the 1998 variance? Or is that taken care of in the findings?
I think probably a catch-all condition that
I think we should be specific because we specifically did that. So that would be condition number 5. Or I don't think it's a condition. I think it should be noted in the record that we.
to Mr. Alves' point
Modified
regarding the special permit, the board may want to see a condition that the previous conditions in 1998 62B, that original variance, if you will, remain, except as otherwise modified regarding condition number 2.
And I would agree with that, except Mr. Bernard's findings included that already. It does say at the end of his findings that all other conditions are in effect. Does that cover that piece? I thought it did, so I assume that all other conditions are, transferred with this variance request modification. I feel like I think that language of condition number 2 was modified in the findings that we, read the quote from Attorney Nickerson that Manny Alves so diligently did. So I don't know if it has to be added on as the condition again, in my opinion. It's already been part of the modification of the variance. Correct?
Yeah, I would ask Attorney Nickerson that question.
Well,
Also,
excuse me, Mr. Chairman, I was going to ask Anna. Anna, in the variance findings that I read, does that include the modification of 2A or 2 in the previous 1998 variance?
So do you want it included in the findings or the conditions?
thought we already included it in the findings.
Yes. But do you want it in the conditions also?
No.
Oh, that's the question.
Okay. That's a question for Attorney Nickerson, what the applicant would prefer.
Attorney Nickerson? Yes.
No. I think we're covered in the findings.
Yeah, I think that's a board decision, and I think we're covered in the findings.
Condition to amend a condition seems kind of clunky. I think it's well covered already. Thank you.
Very good. Okay.
Manny, are we good, Manny? Okay.
Yep.
Do I hear a motion to accept the conditions as stated?
Second.
Okay. Roll call. Paul? In favor?
Favor.
Or,
In favor.
okay, Aaron?
Yes, I'm in favor, Herb.
Okay. Maren? Manny?
Favor.
Deborah?
In favor.
Okay, and I'm in favor. So now we will vote to grant the variance. All in favor, Paul?
Well, I move that we grant variance 2025-042.
I'll second that. In favor, Paul?
In favor.
Manny?
In favor.
Deborah?
In favor.
Aaron?
I'm in favor. Thank you.
Okay, you're welcome. And I'm in favor. Okay, you have your variance. Now we will go on to 2025-35 and 2025-40.
Mr. Chair, if I might, I think we should formally vote to withdraw the other applications.
Well, that's what I was getting to.
Oh, sorry. I thought we were moving on.
Oh, no. Should Attorney Nickerson request those withdrawals, I believe?
Yes.
Okay,
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to withdraw appeal number 2025-35 and appeal number 2025-43. I move to withdraw those without prejudice, please.
thank you. Do I hear a motion to approve the request?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, roll call, Deborah,
In favor.
Manny,
In favor.
Aaron,
I'm in favor.
and Paul.
In favor.
And I'm in favor. Okay, 2025-35 is withdrawn. Now as far as 2025-43, Attorney Nickerson,
I move to withdraw 2025-43 without prejudice. Thank you.
thank you. Do I hear a motion from the board to accept the withdrawal request?
Moved.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Okay, roll call. Paul,
Hold on for a minute. Without prejudice. Yeah, I agree.
okay. Deborah,
In favor.
Aaron,
I'm in favor.
Manny?
In favor.
And I'm in favor. So 2025-043 is also withdrawn. Attorney Nickerson, would you done for the night, I guess, unless you have any more cases with us. I don't think so.
No, not this evening. Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman, and to members of the board for working with us through these applications. I know we have some very happy applicants here this evening.
Yay!
Been a long road for them. Thank you so much.
Yes, my mother actually knew the former owner of that house. Her name was Villamere, and I could tell you a few things about the house if you ever want to talk about it.
I would definitely like, yeah, we all want to hear his stories.
Okay.
Thank you so much, everybody. It was a lot of work, but thank you.
Okay, thanks. Now on to our next appeal number 2025-039, High Point Treatment Centers, Inc. Has applied for a modification permit in connection with a proposed educational use protected under general laws, Chapter 48, Section 3. The applicant seeks to authorize an approximately 539 square foot addition for a new handicapped accessible elevator and entrance at the southwest corner of the building. The proposal will not alter the existing impervious coverage at the site nor the buffer areas, but it will create a new front yard setback nonconformity and intensify the pre-existing non-conforming side yard setback. The subject property is located at 60 Perseverance Way, Hyannis, Mass, as shown on Assessor's Map 295 as parcel 008. It is located in the Industrial IND zoning district. Do we have the applicant here to speak?
Yes, thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Good evening. For the record, my name is Eliza Cox. I'm an attorney at Lattanzi, Spalding, and Landreth here on behalf of the applicant. Joining me this evening is Daniel Mumbauer, who's the president and CEO of High Point Treatment Centers. Lisa Doubleday, who's the COO of High Point Treatment Centers, is also on the Zoom. Dan Ojala, our civil engineer from Down Cape Engineering, is here, and Dan Lewis, who's the project architect, is also on this hearing. Mr. Chairman, I did put together a few slides, so I'm going to share my screen if that's okay, and I'll walk through this request.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, can everyone see? Actually, let me do it a little bit differently. Sorry, hold on one second. Trouble moving it forward.
Attorney Cox, you said there was somebody else here, Lisa?
She was here, Lisa Doubleday.
No, that I can see.
Oh, maybe she dropped off. Thank you for noting that.
Yeah, sorry about that. She has farm animals, so she had to go take care of the barn.
Thanks, Dan. So this is kind of what I'm hoping to cover this evening. I went through the introductions. We'll orient you to the property, talk about the proposed improvements, and then the modification request. Skip to this site. So this slide shows the existing conditions. As the chair indicated in the hearing notice, the property is addressed 60 Perseverance Way in Barnstable. It's an approximately 2.07 acre site. It's located within the industrial zoning district and within multiple overlay districts, including the wellhead protection, the medical services, the medical marijuana, and the ground-mounted solar overlay. As you can see, the site is developed with an existing two-story commercial building. It was constructed about 1975 and has a footprint of about 17,185 square feet for a total gross floor area of about 33,591 square feet. The site is supported by a curb cut on Perseverance Way, parking, and other site amenities. You will see there are a couple of parking spaces that extend currently off the property line onto property that's owned by the town. As part of this project, we're also proposing to bring those parking spaces back onto the subject property. The existing condition is lawfully pre-existing non-conforming to impervious coverage. It's about 56.5%, where 50% is the maximum, and certain buffer requirements. The existing site is currently, portions of the existing site, sort of the back portion of the first floor in this area, is currently leased to a state agency. The remaining portion of the first floor is currently vacant, but was previously used by the Mass Department of Revenue. And the second floor of the building is also currently vacant, but formerly contained office space for the Family Continuity Program and beds for the Massachusetts Department of Public Health. So the proposed project in use, the applicant, which is the lessee, and the proposed operator is High Point Treatment Centers, Inc. It's a nonprofit charitable organization whose mission is to prevent and treat substance abuse and mental health disorders. As we indicated in the application materials, the applicant is proposing to renovate the west side of the first floor and the entire second floor to operate an inpatient and outpatient mental health and substance abuse counseling, rehab, and education center. On the first floor, that's where the outpatient counseling and education programs are proposed, both for children and also for adults with mental health and substance abuse disorders. On the second floor, it's proposed to be renovated to allow for 64 treatment beds for detoxification, rehabilitation, and educational programs for inpatient adults. The proposed programming, and we described this in more detail in the memorandum that we submitted with our application, but it includes children's behavioral health initiatives, psychoeducation, mass driver impaired education, domestic abuse education, individual and group counseling, family support and education, relapse prevention, overdose prevention, life training skills, coping skills training, infectious disease education, gambling addiction, problem solving, mindfulness, meditation, and harm reduction workshops, just to name a few of the programs. For the inpatients, they spend most of their time in educational activities. Approximately 10 hours a day is devoted to educational activities to help them build skills as they recover from addiction. The proposed use qualifies under Chapter 40A, Section 3, the so-called Dover Amendment. In the again, in the addendum that we submitted, we cited a lot of case law to support that proposition. I've also put on this screen to the right side sort of an overview of the Dover Amendment that I found from the Attorney General's website. When it talks about what kinds of uses are considered educational for the purposes of Dover Amendment, it confirms that substance abuse treatment centers, residential mental health programs, and detoxification centers have all qualified under the Dover Amendment, and this would fall under that use as well. So what the Dover Amendment provides is that exempt uses must comply with reasonable bulk requirements. And Massachusetts case law is clear that towns cannot require variance relief from reasonable dimensional requirements for exempt uses. So Barnstable is very clever. It created what's called a modification permit to allow this board to grant relief from these reasonable dimensional requirements. And that's the relief that we're seeking. And what it says in the ordinance is that procedurally it is similar to a special permit, although there's a separate standard for a modification permit that I'll get to in a moment. And that unlike a special permit or a variance, only a simple majority of the board is required to grant the relief, not a supermajority like you see in special permits and variances. So here, what are we asking in terms of the modification relief? The proposed project, and I'll show the site plan in just a moment, it either complies with or is pre-existing non-conforming to all applicable dimensional requirements, except for 2 setbacks that are associated with a small proposed addition to the building. And this plan shows the proposed conditions. As I mentioned, you can see these parking spaces that are on the town property are proposed to be brought back onto our site. But the addition, the reason why we're here seeking this relief, relates to a small addition that's proposed in this corner of the building. Most of the renovations for this use are going to be internal within the building. It is just this small, approximately 388 square foot footprint that's proposed that triggers this filing. And the reason it triggers the filing is as it relates to 2 setbacks. So first, as it relates to the setback from Perseverance Way, the proposed addition has a setback of about 46.9 feet off of Perseverance Way, where the bylaw would otherwise require 60 feet. And a side yard setback that's already pre-existing non-conforming is going to be slightly intensified, going from 25.1 feet to about 18.7 feet from that setback. This addition, it's, as I mentioned, about a 388 square foot footprint. It's 2 stories, and it is to allow for an accessible entrance into the building in this location, as well as a second elevator to the second floor. And the reason, one of the main reasons that the client's proposing this addition is wanting to separate on the first floor the main entrance for the youth outpatient counseling from the adult outpatient counseling. So the youth outpatient entrance would be in this location, and the outpatient entrance for the adults, as well as the inpatient treatments for adults, would all be through this new addition and elevator. The building does have 1 elevator currently. This would allow also for a second elevator, and is being sized to be larger than the existing elevator so that it can accommodate comfortably wheelchairs and stretchers to go up to the second floor. In addition, there's some other new landscape gardens that are being proposed, new stormwater features that are being proposed. None of that is the subject really of this zoning application. It is really just this addition right here that slightly intrudes into the setbacks. So we suggest that a modification permit that we've requested is warranted. Section 248A3BC contains the language in the ordinance dealing with modification permits, and it provides that the zoning board shall modify bulk requirements where they would substantially diminish or detract from the usefulness of a proposed development, impair the character of the development so as to affect its intended use, provided that the modification of the bulk regulations and or parking requirements will not create a public safety hazard and will not create a nuisance to other surrounding properties such that it will impair the use of those properties. Here we suggest that strict application of the dimensional requirements would substantially detract from the usefulness of the site for this exempt educational and therapeutic use. Again, for the well-being of their patients, High Point wants to maintain a physical separation between the adolescent and adult programming. The current layout of the building does not allow for this separation because the elevator that's existing is located in the center of the building. So without the addition, any adults that would be coming to the site would have to share the same entrance as the youth to go up to the second floor. This also the addition allows for separate lobby and waiting areas for the adult outpatient as compared to the adolescent outpatient uses. And as I mentioned, allows for a larger elevator to be constructed that's capable of accommodating a stretcher or wheelchair. Accordingly, we suggest that the application of the dimensional requirements would substantially diminish or detract from the usefulness of the development for High Point and impair its character that would adversely affect its intended use. In addition, we suggest that there is no public safety hazards or nuisance. There's still very generous setbacks. There's one other property, but largely a dead-end road. And quite frankly, just the small intrusions into the setback will have no nuisance or impair the use of any of the surrounding properties. With that, Mr. Chairman, I'm going to stop. Happy to answer any questions. And as I said, our team is here as well. And I'll stop sharing.
Okay, and first I'm going to assign members.
Yep.
I'm going to assign everyone here, Paul Pinard, Aaron Webb, Manny Alves, and Deborah Dworkis.
Great.
So moving right along, do we have any questions for the applicant? Board members.
Mr. Chairman, I have a question.
Yes.
So, thank you, Attorney Cox, for the presentation. Always very thorough and appreciative of that. There is no interior modification if the entrance is constructed where you're proposing to put the addition on to lead to those internal elevators. Meaning, I guess to simplify my question, I mean, could you create a new entranceway solely for the adult portion of the outpatient program to that addition site and leave the adolescent entrance where you currently have it and work a pathway to the interior to get those elevators that are pre-existing.
Dan Lewis, I'm going to ask maybe the project architect to respond to that if you would.
Yes, we looked at a number of options so that what we were looking at is this is not only the intake area for the inpatients, they also have to move upstairs because that's where they go to for their program. So if we brought them in that side entrance, then they would have to go through half the building and come up the elevator in the middle of the building, and they would have to combine with the adolescents so that it functionally it does not work very well if we did that. Plus, we're not required by the code, the building code, to have a stretcher accessible elevator, but this gives us that opportunity. So we will meet the current code, even though we didn't need to meet the current code. Plus, we're adding a handicap parking space, a van accessible space, so that entrance is more handicapped accessible.
The other benefit of the second elevator is from time to time, you do need to repair an elevator and have an elevator offline to have a second elevator for the flow of the building and make sure there's always good accessibility by that second elevator is a really critical part for us also.
And so, again, just correct me if I'm wrong, the second floor is going to be dedicated more to inpatient adult rehabilitation programming, 64 beds, if I'm correct.
That's right.
And downstairs will be mostly outpatient, both adolescent and adult outpatient programming that will be folks coming and going during the course of the day, whereas upstairs will be dedicated to patients on a more long-term rehabilitation process.
That's exactly right.
Yes, correct.
Okay. So,
go ahead, Aaron.
Sorry. No, I think I'm good. Yeah, I'm good.
I'm just curious, are you the only tenant using the second floor then? Or are you sharing that as well?
No, that's also correct.
That is correct also, yes.
They would be the only use on the second floor.
Okay, good. Thank you. And I can definitely agree with having a second elevator and yes.
Yeah, to me, it really comes down to the separation of entrances for potential, clients, and I certainly, it would be very difficult to, go against that thought, at least in this proposal, to, deny this request and force, the mixing of those ages and clientele to enter through one exit or enter through one entrance point. So, I'm in favor of this. This is, I guess for the use, it makes sense. Forgive me. So there is going to be a second tenant, though, sharing part of the first floor.
They're existing right now, so they will continue to operate in that space on the first floor. Correct.
And who is the property owner? Does that matter here? But
so initially, High Point Treatment Centers, Inc. Purchased the property. Recently, they conveyed it to SEMCOA, which is a related nonprofit entity. But High Point Treatment Centers is the lessee of these spaces that are the subject of this application. So it does still continue to qualify with the requirements of Dover, the Dover Amendment.
And does the the conveyed owner now is leasing to High Point as well as the current tenant. that is pre-existing. Is there thought that would get absorbed by this program eventually? We don't know.
Dan M., do you want to comment on that?
Sure, yeah. Yeah, first, the conveyance of ownership. We were very fortunate that Mass Housing Investment Corporation has provided $7.7 million in new market tax credits towards the project because they've seen the great value of having these services brought into the community. There's a real shortage of treatment services for both adults and children on the Cape. And in order to bring the new market tax credits in underneath the federal guidance, you have to have one nonprofit owner and then another nonprofit operator. Just to kind of give you a little background of why we had to do the transfer. I'm actually the president and CEO of both nonprofits, and I've been with the High Point since its founding. And so I've been with High Point for 42 years. And I've been the president and CEO of Simcoa for over 20 years. The tenant is the state of Massachusetts, and they are a really good tenant. We like our neighbors, so to speak. And so we are hoping that they stay there long term. But we did give them the right, if they prefer at some point to leave, they have the right to leave. They also have the right to stay. And my hope is that they stay. They've been really great to have there.
Okay. Well, I certainly know the property, I think, from doing some business up there. So I'll leave it to the rest of the board for comments, I guess.
Dan, your length of your extent of your experience makes me feel young or old, I guess. Yeah, I'm ready to go ahead.
Yeah, and ordinarily I would question the setback being reduced, but we have the Dover Amendment on our side here, so we don't have to worry about that.
On that point, could I just interject one small thing, Mr. Chair?
Yes.
Dan Ojala from Down Cape Engineering, site engineer. I had a small typo which I tripped up the able attorney Eliza with. The side setback should read 18.4. That's written in a couple places on the site plan, but it was 18.7 in the zoning box. It's a 3-inch difference, but everyone looked at the plan and it's been 18.4. I just forgot to edit that. We did a very extensive survey and adjusted the lot lines 3 inches, and I forgot to edit it. So if we could get the relief showing an 18.4 foot side yard setback, I would appreciate that.
Thank you. Yeah, and I had a question about on the staff report, it mentions 539 square feet. And I think you mentioned a smaller number, Attorney Cox.
539 is the gross square footage increased, so it's over 2 floors.
Oh, both
388 is the footprint. Yeah.
Gotcha. It's all about numbers. Okay. Does anyone else have any questions? If not, we can open it up to public comment. Anna, do we have any public comment?
We did not receive any public comment, and I don't know if anyone is available here.
I have a public comment, if that's okay.
Oh, yes, go ahead.
Hi, Betty Ludke, Town of Barnstable. A couple questions. High Point, I guess they're questions more than comments. First, when Attorney Cox started out her presentation, she talked about going over the impervious amount on the site. And I was curious, and I'm not familiar with their treatment procedures, but is there any kind of are people inside the whole time? Because this isn't the most pleasant place to go out and walk. I'm just wondering how the treatment works, if there's any exterior aspects to it, or if it's all done in there and the people leave either by maybe then transportation or anything. So that's just one question because I'm unfamiliar. And then the other question is, what brought High Point here? Is this their first clinic on Cape Cod? Do they have others? Are they adding to the clinics that are run by other providers? Or is this a new service that Barnstable is getting? So just unfamiliar and just interested in that, and how they chose this location, how they chose the town of Barnstable if we are the only town that they are in on Cape Cod. So thank you for the opportunity.
Yeah, so we normally, there's a grassy area behind the building, so we normally would put some picnic tables out there on good weather days to sit outside. We don't do walks around the neighborhood or things like that. So when you're coming onto the property for detox or there for rehab, you stay on the property for your whole stay, and that's the second floor. The first floor is a children's clinic, an adult clinic. The children's clinic is from age 3 up. So we begin providing service at a very young age. The adult clinic obviously is 18 plus, and those are folks that live in the community. Ironically, part of what we do too is we have the CBHI initiative. The Children's Behavioral Health Initiative is we actually go to the family's home to treat the child in their home versus at the site. So there is certainly a fair amount of community outreach. We have never worked on the Cape before. So this is the first time we have ventured onto the Cape, and really the only reason we decided to come onto the Cape was the pending reduction of beds available on the Cape with the movement of the only public detox rehab provider on the state going to move across the bridge. And we felt with the operation over in Falmouth going to move over the bridge, that it really would be very difficult for a lot of folks from the Cape to access treatment off Cape. We certainly treat a lot of folks from the Cape. We have about 1,000 admissions a year onto our other sites from the Cape. We have 3 main hubs. Plymouth is the closest one to the Cape, so a large number of folks do access Plymouth, but we have a fair number of folks who access our site in New Bedford and our site in Brockton. So this would become our 4th hub as an organization. It actually is the smallest of the 4. In fact, it's bed-wise, about half the size of our next smallest hub as an agency. The idea of the beds and the community together is very critically important to us. All of our sites are designed the same way, that when somebody comes in for treatment, it's just not as simple as, oh, you come in, you receive detox, you go to rehab for a few weeks, and life's grand and you're going to do well, that you need community support, you need outpatient support. So hence why the project is somewhat more comprehensive than just a standalone one level of care, one type of service. And we actually do also provide services for adults in their home. So why the location is, right in the Hyannis, Barnstable, the reality is we would be serving, pretty much really anyone on the Cape. And it's a great location. So location-wise, looking at from both a need perspective, we felt it was a larger portion of the population lived in a close proximity to the location. And of course, being right off the highway makes it a lot easier to go to than versus being in a population center in the middle of the community. So it really just became a very ideal location from the perspective of being where we're at. And ironically, the folks that were on the second floor before, they did have mental health beds on the second floor. And then ironically, they actually did have community-based services on the other side of the second floor. So why we're a bit more comprehensive and broader in our services, they are very similar to services that were previously operated at the site.
And can I just do 2 follow-ups? Just one thing, Dan, you mentioned.
Absolutely. Sure.
Are you working with our existing network of sober houses? Is that what I understand? When someone comes out of your program, do they either go back to their home or sober houses? or how do you identify that? Do we have sober houses here on the Cape? Have you done that analysis that we can handle what you're doing? And then what was the entity that moved off Cape? What was their motivation to move off Cape? Because it sounds like you see I don't know if I want to call it a market, but you see a need here. Why would they move off Cape?
Yeah. So we work with both sober houses and halfway houses, recovery homes, supportive housing projects throughout the Commonwealth. So folks, many times, believe it or not, would like to be placed farther away from their community of origin for long-term housing, because sometimes if you're too close to home, so to speak, and you're early in your recovery, it's hard to maintain your recovery. So some folks like to stay close to home because they have good family ties. Other folks would rather be farther from home. So we have affiliation agreements, I suspect probably with 100 houses throughout Massachusetts. We're the largest addiction provider in the state of Massachusetts for detox and rehab in the Commonwealth. So we have a lot of relationships with a lot of different community organizations, both on and off Cape. The group that is over in Falmouth, they're actually in a lease property. It's owned by, the property is owned by Cape Cod Health System. It's located next to the Falmouth Hospital, and their lease is ending this coming June. I actually did meet with the president of the Cape Cod Health System, and he was very supportive and welcomed the idea of having services down the street, really from Cape Cod Hospital, their largest entity, which of course, if you think about folks in crisis, you know, many folks start in the emergency room and are looking to access treatment from there. We actually receive many referrals from the Cape emergency rooms, as well as obviously emergency throughout Southeast Massachusetts. Sadly to say, there's never enough beds. Like I said, we treat about 1,000 clients already from the Cape because there's not enough access on the Cape already. And honestly, I think there'd be more folks who will access treatment with our model and with the beds being in Hyannis, because it really is a very central location to be. We also do provide transportation. So if you're gonna go into housing on Cape or off Cape, we actually do give you a ride there. We don't expect you to figure out how to get from point A to point B on your own. I know you didn't ask the question, but figured out, you know, we've been doing this a long time. I obviously personally been doing this a long time also. Yeah. And, you know, we really want to help people get into recovery and stay in the recovery. And so hence, you know, we really try to continue, have a really large network of different supports, because everyone who walks through your front door, everyone's needs are not identical to each other. So you're really trying to place the person, the right place for that individual.
Okay, my final question, sorry to be hogging time here, but I just, you know, you're in this facility, you're asking, you know, for the zoning board to grant this, but it sounds like you could actually use a larger facility. Did you purchase this facility because this is the one you could purchase and you've downsized to fit the facility? Do you foresee yourself coming back if you find another building, or I'm just curious about.
Good question.
Once this gets approved, are you guys?
Yeah, it's actually a decent sized facility. It's 64 beds, 32 detox, 32 rehab. It's not small in its size. One of the things we have right now, we have about 1,400 employees who work for us. So we're not exactly a small provider. The same token, the amount of folks just to operate this facility and the surrounding, like the outreach into the community, outreach into the homes, will be slightly over 100 people, which are mostly made up a lot of clinicians and nurses. So honestly, why there probably will be me that I can't meet. I don't know if we, quite frankly, could find enough clinical staff to actually do a second location. one of our challenges have always been, and we expanded a lot. Just to give you an idea, our home where we started was in Plymouth. Plymouth was 60 beds. The Plymouth campus today operates about 95 beds, and we operate over 400 addiction treatment beds. And sadly to say, for great portions of the year, when you call, if you don't call early enough in the day, you cannot get a bed. And so, we try to put our hubs somewhat separated so you can kind of create access in different areas. We actually have funding actually from all three of our host communities. We do a lot of community prevention work. So we have funding from the town of Plymouth. We have funding from the city of Brockton. We have funding from the city of New Bedford. We actually work in the school systems in all three of those communities also. So we really do try to be comprehensive and be a strong community partner in the communities we're at. But sadly to say, we have never been able to get to a point that we can meet the need. But certainly anymore, the staffing's gotten very complex. The younger generation smaller than the previous generation. So there's a lot of folks like me who've been doing this for 40 plus years. And why we have a reasonable younger population coming in, it's not as big a population as the previous generation. So it's certainly challenging to continue to expand and do more.
Okay, thank you so much.
Certainly.
Thank you. Do we have any other questions?
One quick question, I guess Councilwoman Lutke's question elicited this thought in my head. In terms of licensing, not a zoning question, are you subject to any licensing?
Yes.
Barnstable?
A lot of licenses.
Well, no, I know at the state level, but
yeah.
in terms of the town itself, none of that was in the application, but are you, is it Department of Health? Is it?
Yes, absolutely. We do, as part of the plan, we would operate a commercial kitchen with an employee cafeteria on the first floor. And we obviously provide meal tray service to the beds on the second floor. And that kitchen is underneath the jurisdiction of your local Department of Public Health, who would have to approve the application for operating a food service operation. We currently operate 5 commercial kitchens as an entity. So we certainly have a lot of experience working with local Department of Public Health and the requirements to operate those kitchens. So we feed a lot of folks every day in our facilities and have a long track record of running commercial kitchens.
Thanks.
Certainly.
I have a question, Mr. Chairman, and for you, Dan. Well, no, Attorney Cox. What is before the board? Are we approving this whole operation, or are we just approving an elevator?
Yeah, great question. No, and in fact, you do not have jurisdiction over the use. It's exempt from zoning, exempt from your purview. You cannot condition the use. What you have purview over is the modification of those dimensional requirements associated with the construction of the addition.
Okay, then, Mr. Chairman, can we move forward just talking about the elevator?
Excuse me?
Can we move forward with the case in front of us specifically?
Well, we're in public comment currently. If there's anybody else from the public that would like to comment, please come forward. If you'd like to discuss it among the board, that's okay too. But we could close public comment if...
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to close public comment, please.
There you go. Thank you. Do I have a second?
Yes, Paul, second.
Okay, in favor, Paul?
Yep, in favor.
Aaron?
I'm in favor.
Manny?
In favor.
Deborah?
In favor.
And I'm in favor. Okay.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to close the public hearing, please.
I second.
Do I hear a second? Okay. All in favor? Paul?
In favor.
Aaron?
I'm in favor.
Cody? Deborah?
In favor.
And I'm in favor. Thank you guys for moving that along. Okay. So, do we have anything
Mr.
else?
Chairman, I'd make findings on this.
What's that?
I would make findings on this.
Sure.
Okay.
As far as deliberations go, I think it's a good thing, and it's nice when there's an avenue like this Dover amendment where we don't have to worry about setbacks and things. So go ahead.
As long as everybody's in agreement, we'll move forward. I will start. Okay, based upon bill number 2025-039, High Point Treatment Centers has applied for a modification permit in connection with the proposed educational use protected under GLC 40A, Section 3. The applicant seeks to authorize an approximately 539 square foot addition for a new handicapped accessible elevator and entrance at the southwest corner of the building. The proposal will not alter the existing impervious coverage at the site, nor the buffer areas, but it will create a new front yard setback nonconformity and intensify the pre-existing nonconformity side yard setback. The subject property is located at 60 Perseverance Way, Hyannis, Massachusetts, as is shown on Assessor's Map 295 as parcel 008. It is located in the Industrial IND zoning district. This board is charged with findings based upon the request. Again, the presentation from Attorney Cox certainly was thorough and introduced us to the Dover Amendment, which sort of subsedes our ability to take sidebar setbacks into consideration. So number one, the application falls within a category specifically accepted in the ordinance for a grant of modification permit, again, protected under GLC 40A Section 3. Site Plan Review Committee found that the project approvable subject to zoning relief in a letter dated December 19th, 2025. Certainly that was not added to the record thus far, but could be now at this point. Site Plan has, again, given their blessings depending on our relief here. And after an evaluation of the evidence presented, the proposal fulfills the spirit and intent of the zoning ordinance. It would not represent a substantial detriment to the public good or the neighborhood affected. Again, I think this board is in agreement that the modification of the additional elevator access and entryway point is ultimately a plus for the facility and for the usage, separating adult and adolescent usage. In this case, certainly warrants our granting of this modification. So those are my findings.
I second with conditions.
Mr. Chair, I think we need to make findings under Section 248. As Attorney Cox explained to us, this is not a straight special permit, it's a modification permit, and it's treated differently under Section 248. So I would suggest we amend Aaron's findings, if I may, to say that the bulk regulations in this case would substantially diminish or detract from the usefulness of the proposed development, or impair the character of the development so as to affect its intended use. And we also find that allowing this will not create a public safety hazard along the adjacent roadways or create a nuisance to other surrounding properties, such that it would impair the use of these properties.
I knew I should have had you make findings.
I agree with that.
This is something called a modification permit. It's not a straight special permit. Because of the Dover Amendment, those are the standards we need to meet.
Yep.
Yeah, and it's good to include that in our findings rather than just let it get buried in the staff report. Attorney Cox, that's okay with you?
Absolutely.
Okay. Anna, do you have that verbiage down?
Yes.
Okay, very good. Do I hear a second on the amended or revised findings?
Yeah, it's Paul, I second.
Okay. Roll call vote. Paul,
In favor.
Aaron,
I'm in favor.
Manny,
In favor.
Deborah,
In favor.
and I'm in favor. Now we're going to move on to conditions.
Yep, so again, staff report dated, let me just double check here, certainly lists 4 conditions, I believe, 1 through 4. Attorney Cox, you've had a chance to review those conditions. Are they acceptable?
Yes, I have. Thank you. I guess the only one, and I know this is sort of standard for the board, but condition 3, whereas this is an exempt use that's only subject to reasonable bulk regulations under the ordinance, I question whether that is necessary here. You have condition 2 that requires substantial conformance with the plans that we've submitted. In the future, if there are minor changes to the building that don't impact those application of those reasonable dimensional regulations, I don't see why we should have to come back to the board. So I guess I would ask the board to consider in this unusual application striking draft condition 3.
I would concur.
Okay. And that's okay with Anna?
Of course.
Okay.
Let me just, Manny, just for the record, may I just read that 1 and 2 the record so we, definitively know exactly what we're discussing or we're talking about removing?
So we're removing condition 3, the proposed development shall represent full build out of the lot. Further changes to the lot shall be prohibited without prior approval from the board.
Yeah, I concur.
Okay. I'm not 100% sure that I do, but I will go along with the popular acceptance of it. Do I have a motion to accept the conditions?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Yeah, this is Paul. I move I second 1, 2, and 4.
Thank you. So I'll do a roll call vote. Paul?
In favor.
Aaron?
In favor.
Manny?
In favor.
Deborah?
So we're keeping 1, 2, and 4 and removing 3.
Correct.
Okay. In favor.
Thank you. And I'm in favor. And now we will vote to grant the modification permit, I guess. Do I hear, well, I don't think we need to move. Anna, correct me if I'm wrong. Do we need to move to accept it or do we just do a roll call?
So you're voting to grant the modification permit.
Yeah.
So someone has a second and then.
Yeah, I second Paul.
Okay. Roll call vote. Paul?
In favor.
Aaron?
In favor.
Annie?
In favor.
And Deborah?
In favor.
And I'm in favor. You have your permit. Thank you, Attorney Cox.
Thank you very much.
Good luck.
Thank you very
Good luck.
much.
Yeah,
Good luck,
thanks
Dan.
for the work you do for the community, sir.
Thank you, Dan.
Look forward to working with you all.
Thank you. Okay, next on the agenda. Okay, appeal number 2025-040, WS Landing at Hyannis LLC has petitioned for a modification of variance number 2023-022, which adopted site-wide criteria governing signage for the landing at Hyannis. The proposed modification seeks the addition of one additional 35 square foot freestanding sign without any increase to the total sign area approved for the site. The subject property is located at 790 Iana Road, Hyannis, Mass, as shown on Assessor's Map 311 as parcel 092. It is located in the Highway Business, HB and Business B zoning districts. The petitioner may take it from here.
Super. Thank you again. Still me. Good evening again, Mr. Chairman and members of the board. Eliza Cox on behalf of WS Landing at Hyannis LLC. I'm going to share my screen again if that's okay.
Okay, I'm going to assign members before you start your
Sure.
I'm going to assign all present members, myself, Paul Pinard, Aaron Webb, Manny Alice, and Deborah Dworkis.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
So joining me this evening on this application is Katie Campion, who is from WS Development, my client. Also on the Zoom is Ronald Hart, representing Panera. This slide goes over what...
Wait a minute, Attorney Cox, I don't have either of those on here.
So I think Katie's name has her maiden name, Weatherby Campion.
Is she on
her
here?
nodding. Yep. And I do see Ronald Hart too on the... Ronnie, you want to say hi? You on?
Okay, I don't see either. Am I the only one that doesn't see either of them?
Yeah, they're on.
Okay.
Thank you for checking. As some of the board members may recall, we were previously before the board in November of last year seeking a new variance to enable construction of a drive-through menu sign in connection with Panera Bread's approved drive-through from this board on this property. After hearing the board's concerns about granting that new variance for that request, we withdrew the application and immediately engaged in a series of meetings with different town officials regarding the best approach to bring this forward, recognizing that adequate signage is a critical factor in the safe operation of the drive-through that you've approved on this property. So taking into consideration your comments from the last hearing, and based on the discussions we had with town officials, the consensus was that the better approach was to seek an amendment of the existing sign variance decision that this board granted that benefits this property, and to do so in a manner that does not increase the overall already authorized amount of signage area on the property. And so as you'll hear this evening, as I go through my slides, this modification takes that approach this evening. This is the subject property. I think everyone is very familiar with it. It's the former Cape Town Plaza, now known as the Landing at Hyannis. It's a very large property. It's about 27 acres, multiple frontages, multiple buildings on the property. I want to point out a couple of things while I'm on this plan, because I'll refer to it later. But to sort of orient the board, here's Route 132, here's Airport Road. This is the Chase Bank building that was recently constructed. This is where the Panera Bread is under construction and is proposed. About a year ago, in January of 2025, the board issued special permits allowing for both Chase and Panera to have drive-through windows. I also want to note, because I'm going to talk about their signs in a minute, Tiki Port, formerly Tiki Port, is located right here, and Ella's Bakery is over in this location, all part of this large plaza. So I want to talk just a minute about to remind the board about the existing variance that was granted authorizing signage on the property. So some of you were on the board at the time. This request was before the board back in August of 2023. And at the time, and still somewhat exists, their pre-existing conditions contained a hodgepodge of 6 freestanding signs and uncoordinated building signage, many of which had been the subject of prior relief granted by the board over the years. The board recognized that there were variance conditions. There have been many variances that predated this variance from 2023 on the site, and also the benefit of creating a comprehensive site-wide building and freestanding signage criteria. And so in September of 2023, after one hearing, the board approved the applicant's comprehensive site-wide building and freestanding signage criteria for the property, again, finding that all of the variance conditions were met. So moving forward to tonight's request to modify that variance. And I'll show graphically what the request is in just a moment. So the modification request is proposing the addition of one single freestanding sign, additional freestanding sign within the 27-acre parcel, which we suggest is necessary to promote public safety and the safe and efficient operations of the approved drive-through. Importantly, as I indicated previously, as mentioned in the staff report, this modification does not increase the total allowable signage that's already been authorized, sign area that's already been authorized on this property. So what's proposed is that a portion of the previously approved signage by this board is proposed to be removed from one of the freestanding signs and allocated to a new freestanding sign. The modification would result in the total of 4 freestanding signs for the entire site, which is the equivalent of about 1 freestanding sign per 6.75 acres of land. With this requested modification, there are still fewer freestanding signs proposed, so 4 would be proposed, than under the pre-existing conditions, which had 6. The proposed freestanding sign, and I'll show it where it's located in just a minute, is proposed to be located interior to the site. It's not oriented towards Route 132, and it's set back about 90 feet from the public road. What we did is we took the previously approved pylon and freestanding sign package that the board approved with the 2023 variance and updated it, submitted that with our application materials to illustrate the proposed modification. And I'll just go through some of the relevant slides from that package, which again were submitted to the board. This is just the cover sheet with the updated date of December 17th, 2025. So this plan is in that package. The next several slides are in the package. Originally, this plan showed the 3 freestanding signs that have already been approved, which is primary pylon 1 right here, secondary pylon 1 right here, and secondary pylon 2 right here. Again, all of those have already been approved. The proposed modification is this freestanding sign, again, interior to the site, oriented towards providing safe operations at the approved drive-through. So this is the change on this slide versus what the board has already approved. And just to remind the board of sort of the pre-existing freestanding condition. So this was the main Kmart sign. This no longer exists. It's been replaced with an approved, the main pylon sign that's been approved. The IHOP sign still exists on the site. You'll recall I pointed out Tiki Port and Ella's Bakery. Tiki Port, actually, I drove by the other day. I think the frame of the sign is there. Some of these interior signs have come down, but the main frame still exists, and the Ella's Bakery sign still exists on the site. And those were part of, again, shown as graphics in that original package that the board approved. In addition, pre-existing on the site were 2 monument signs at the main entrance. Those no longer exist. You have just the main approved pylon sign now. So the proposed change that we're seeking to remove signage area is with the secondary pylon sign 2. This is the sign that's proposed on the sort of the easterly right side of the plaza. And what's proposed is to remove approximately 35 square feet from this sign and reallocate it towards a new interior freestanding sign that would serve as a menu benefiting the approved drive-through for Panera. And I showed you the location of that on an earlier graphic. So what does this mean in terms of total sign that the board's already approved? So this chart was in the original approval. The pre-existing condition had 6 freestanding or pylon signs for a total area of about 1,100 square feet. Under proposed conditions, we've removed about 34.98 square feet from secondary pylon sign number 2 and put that into the proposed freestanding sign, but have not changed the overall square footage of approved signage on this property. So for the pre-existing condition had 6 signs. The proposed with this modification would have 4 signs. Right now, what exists on the property are 4 freestanding signs. The new sign here that replaced the Kmart sign, the IHOP sign still exists, the Tiki Port sign exists, and the Ella's Bakery still exists. So if you compare with on-the-ground conditions right now, there is no increase proposed with freestanding signs. This plan is not part of the sign package, but we wanted to share it with you. It shows landscaping that's existing and was constructed as part of phase 2. So phase 2 is this area of the site that really shows additional landscaping between Route 132 and the proposed Panera building, as well as roughly the location of where this new freestanding sign is located. Also wanted to show some pictures. The Panera building is currently under construction. If you've driven by, you've probably seen it. This visual is from inside the subject property. So Old Navy is sort of over here. As you leave Old Navy and connect to the interior site drive, this is looking at the Panera building. This white truck is basically parked in the drive-through lane, going the wrong direction in this picture. The drive-through would run this way around the building, but this is roughly where that interior freestanding sign would be located and oriented towards sort of Old Navy. Another photo of currently existing conditions. This is also within the site as you're sort of exiting the site onto Route 132. This shows some of the new landscaping that was recently installed. Obviously, it's going to continue to grow, but you can see the proposed sign would be located kind of behind this tree. So from this visual, it's really going to have limited visibility with the landscaping. And then these are some older pre-redevelopment street views, but the Panera building is located roughly here, but you can see that there is landscaping before the phase 2 landscaping that I showed on the earlier plan was installed that has some obstructions into the site to limit visibility. So we are suggesting that this requested modification is warranted as it relates to the applicable zoning criteria. First, the board has already found that there are unique circumstances related to the site. This is well documented. There have been many variances, including this one that we're looking to modify this evening. That the site contains unique conditions relating to its irregularly large size, topography, multiple frontages, and multiple structures. In addition, the board has already found that a literal enforcement of the ordinance's sign provisions on this property is a substantial hardship. That finding has already been determined by the board in the prior variance decision. In addition, there's further evidence, to the extent it's necessary, related to this particular sign that we're seeking to have authorized. It is a substantial hardship on the applicant, on Panera Bread, and the public by jeopardizing this lease, reinvestment into the property, and significantly the functionality and safety of the drive-through that this board has already approved. Finally, and I think this is really the key aspect of the variance, is whether or not this additional sign and relocating already approved sign area to that sign is a substantial detriment or derogation. And we would suggest it is not. It is not a new variance. It is staying within the parameters of the overall approved signage area that this board has already approved. There is, as I said, no increase in signage area, only reallocating it to a new freestanding sign. In addition, this modification continues to result in a reduction in the total number of freestanding signs as compared to the pre-redevelopment conditions, and results in no increase as compared to the conditions that are on the ground as it relates to freestanding signs. In addition, the orientation and sighting of this sign also result in no substantial detriment or derogation. This proposed sign is interior to the site. It's facing the Old Navy building, and its setback is about 90 feet from Route 132, so that as you're in your car driving down Route 132, this is actually going to minimize and reduce the amount of visible signage right on the roadway, because we're removing approved signage from right along Route 132 and bringing it, as I said, interior to the site. In addition, if the board were inclined, the applicant would agree to a condition that both the Ella's Bakery sign and the Tiki Port sign structures, which exist right now, would be removed contemporaneously with the construction of this new freestanding sign, so that there is no increase in signage that exists on the site at any given time. And finally, I would suggest to you, if you look at the section 24059, which is the sort of purposes or statement of intent for the signage regulations, it provides that their purpose is to protect the visual environment and public safety, convenience, and welfare. And I think this request demonstrably advances those interests. Again, it minimizes the signage right along Route 132, brings it back interior to the site. The board's already approved that amount of signage, and it will allow for that drive-through that the board has also approved to function in a safe manner. So wrapping up, again, I would say that although the requested outcome that we're asking today with this modification is unchanged as compared to the prior request that we made that the board had issue with when we asked for the new variance, that I think this approach really responds to the board's earlier comments by relying on a modification of an existing sign variance that the board already approved rather than issuing a new one. And we hope you will feel the same way. Finally, in terms of conditions, if we get there this evening, I do have a couple of suggested edits to the staff report conditions, which I can either, Mr. Chairman, go through now or later this evening, whatever you prefer. So thank you. I'll stop sharing.
Thank you. Okay, back to the board for discussion. Anybody? Can you hear me, by the way?
We'll start. I certainly feel somewhat Well, I don't know how we granted it without having that discussion of where the drive-through signage would be for Panera back when it was first proposed to us. So, shame on us, I guess, that never came up, but it certainly seems relevant back when the application was first proposed that the drive-through was going to go in. I was certainly sat here during that hearing and sat here during the signage hearing initially with WS in 2023. So, it's, I don't know how we did not discuss that at the time and why it wasn't included, I guess, in that application.
Aaron, I don't think the tenant was identified during that, was it?
Yeah, I think it was.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
And
Sorry.
it was identified as, again, we granted the permit for the drive-through at the time, so we never asked the question, or nor was it ever presented to us where the restaurant sign would be. So it seems a little backwards, I guess, that now we sit here trying to sort of correct that in essence. But I mean, maybe it was understood the whole time that you would be coming back to us with that request, maybe once construction reached a certain point. I don't know, but I certainly don't have an issue with it, especially with the removal of the Tiki Port sign and Ella's Bakery sign. So in essence, you're going to go from 4 freestanding pylon signs to 5 and then revert back to 3. In essence, if you remove Ella's and Tiki Port.
Right now, there are, make sure I'm doing this right. There are 4 on the site that initially when we brought the signage request to the board in 2023, there were 6 freestanding pylon signs, freestanding or monument signs. So right now there are 4 on the site. I think you're right. When this one gets built, if it's approved, the Ella's Bakery and the Tiki Port would come down, but we would still have a secondary pylon sign 2 to construct. So at the end of the day, four signs are proposed. There are 4 that exist right now. So if you look on the ground right now, there's no increase in the number of freestanding signs.
Okay, so I'm certainly confused now because I thought secondary pylon sign was the IHOP sign, which is already pre-existing.
So I can...
The main sign.
Right, you've got
and then the 2 of Tiki Port and Ella's, and then you're considering constructing what, again, initially will be a 5th, then subtracting the 2, which will leave us with 3.
So, right, IHOP and this secondary, right now what's existing is IHOP, which is over here. That will eventually be replaced by another secondary pylon sign that the board's approved, but that's existing right now. This does not exist right now. So there's 1 here right now. There's 1 main sign.
I'm sorry. I don't.
Right now.
So wait, but you're going to replace the secondary pylon. You're going to replace the IHOP sign with a secondary pylon sign that we've already approved?
With the primary pylon. Secondary, sign that you've already approved. Correct.
Which is going to go basically on the same footprint of where the IHOP sign is.
Correct. Yes.
Yeah. So again, that's just a replacement.
That's a wash.
It's sort of semantics, but I'm curious because I think we're going to see you again at some point if you're going to reduce down from because right now I see 3 pink secondary pylon 1,
correct,
pylon primary. Yeah. I see freestanding sign, and those are the only 3 that are going to remain once the other 2 come down.
At the end of the day, exactly right. It'd be the 3 signs right along the frontage and then the interior freestanding sign. This is approved.
Okay, so secondary pylon number 2 in front of Tiki Port is pre-existing?
It's this one. This is approved by the board. It has not been installed yet. So what's proposed is from that sign, this is the approved sign, we would remove 35 square feet roughly that would be reallocated towards this proposed freestanding sign.
Yeah, with there. I mean, the whole thing.
Maybe this one's helpful. Yeah.
the whole thing sounds silly, but if that's what you have to do to squeeze a menu board sign in, I mean, the fact of the matter is that third pylon, when it's built, is just going to have white space instead of lettering in it.
It'll be smaller, right?
Yeah, right.
Okay, but yeah, I'm just gonna, yeah, so in essence, that new constructed sign, which isn't being constructed yet, the secondary third pylon sign, I don't know what you want to call it,
This
closer
one,
to Tiki Port, is
Yeah.
gonna basically go on the, it looks like basically on the footprint of where the Tiki Port sign is now. So you're offering to
Correct.
take down the Tiki Port sign, but in essence, you're just gonna replace it with something that's already been approved.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I
So
think, yes.
you're certainly not gonna leave the Tiki Port sign there.
No.
It's going to obstruct the pylon sign. I mean, that's not,
Right.
so you're not, it's not really a give, no offense, but.
Could I clarify one
You know,
thing?
it's.
Go ahead,
Sure.
Katie.
Yeah, so I'm Katie Campion with WS Development. I live in Holliston, Mass, but work for the property. So just to clarify, we are offering to take down the Tiki Port and the Ellis sign now, so there visually wouldn't be signs there. Our standard practice is to not take down the pre-existing signs until we're going to construct the new sign. So that's why the Ellis sign is still there. So we would be spending the extra time and energy to take those signs down now so the board could be more comfortable that they weren't increasing signage with this freestanding sign.
Well, if you can't see the menu board from the street, who cares?
I agree with you, Paul. And we had the discussion, is this even a sign if it's not sort of visible as you're driving down the street? I do think that is a question, but.
Attorney Cox, you certainly understand signage and town, ordinances that minimize the amount of signage on properties. We've been around this 1,000 times already, so that's not something new. Even though it's a
Correct.
menu board, it's certainly is considered to be a sign.
Yeah.
Right.
And that's where the building department is right now, which is why we're here. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm not opposed to it. I'm certainly confused and by some of the terminology about we're going to take down the Tiki Port sign, for this, and yet you're not going to leave the Tiki Port sign up regardless of whether you get this or not, in my opinion.
So there's no condition in the current decision that times when that has to come down. What we're offering to the board is immediately when that new sign is constructed, we would remove both the Tiki Port and the Ella's Bakery sign contemporaneously with that interior sign.
Okay. I'm certainly good. I'm not really complaining. It just seems roundabout. And again, I'm more frustrated that we didn't discuss this back when we were talking about the proposed drive-through and how that menu board signage would be included in the permits that we granted for signage. But anyway, it doesn't matter because we're back here. I'm good. I have no problem with any of it. Manny?
Nope, I agree. I think I know why we're here. And this will be the work of that committee that the town's putting together, because there's an ordinance that, absence the variance that got approved for the property as a whole, that prohibits these internally illuminated signs. That's the sort of the circle we're trying to square. And doing it this way, I think, is a creative approach. I think this is within what's been approved. Yeah. We're not increasing the amount of signs, and I think the whole discussion about taking down the existing signs is that so that in the interim we're not increasing the number of signs. But at the end of the day, so I get it. I agree. I think we're staying within the allotted signage area. We're redistributing it. I still think we have a problem because of the way not on this application, because of the way the ordinance is written generally.
Because if we rule here that this is okay, then suppose next week they come in and say, hey, we'll eliminate another line on the third pylon to put another pylon in. So we need some relief. We need some more specificity in whatever you're developing there.
Yeah,
but I don't have a problem with this one.
Yeah. I'm sorry to interrupt, Paul, but I certainly agree with you there. And I also feel like, this sign's going to be lit from internally. right? I mean, we've certainly had that debate on 132 with lit signage, and I don't have the ordinance in front of me, but where that, you know, talks about that piece, and are there other, you know, signs pointing drive-through, you know, one-way only signage and so forth that are going to go up simultaneously?
So with the prior variance, the board did approve LED lit signs on this property. So that is already approved with the 2023 variance. There are directional signs that are proposed within, you know, this area, orienting people towards the drive-through. Katie, I don't believe any of those are lit. Is that right? Do you recall?
I'm just flipping through quickly.
But those have already been issued sign permits by the building department, the directional signs for the site.
And they don't, so they don't increase the square footage of signage that's allowable on site.
The directional signs are handled differently, but yes, those have been approved.
But Paul, to your point, I think we've made that bed. We'll have to lie in it. So the board approved an overall signage area. If they choose to reallocate and come back, in a way, as long as they're not exceeding the signage area that's been approved, I don't know that we have a lot of.
Yeah, but there is also something in there in terms of number of signs, Manny. So what you're doing is increasing the number of physical signs, even though you're staying within the letter of the law with respect to what's written on the signs. So I think that's the difference.
Yeah, I hear you.
Fix it for us.
I remember that hearing. The reason this got approved is because of the lot. This was being signage allocated to the entire property, and the internal allocation of that signage area to particular tenant space, I wouldn't be surprised if we're back here. So maybe I'm being a cynic. So I agree with Aaron. I think this is within the already approved signage area. We're not exceeding it. And I would agree to not have an increase in signs in the interim. So I would take the applicant up on its offer to take down Tiki and Ella's while the other construction's being done. I think that makes some sense.
Sounds good. Anyone else?
So Manny, that would be an additional condition that I don't think is in there now.
Yeah, I was wondering if that was on what Attorney Cox was, that slide with added conditions. Was it there?
It's not. It was on an earlier slide. So I think what I would recommend, and I've seen the staff report, and I thank Anna, I thought it was very well written. On the conditions, I think the cleanest way to memorialize this request is if you, and it's put out in the memo that we submitted to, is that if you modify the conditions of the prior variance by substituting the revised documentation that we submitted. So condition 2 of the prior variances refers to this document, which we've now updated. The bold is in the change. So it's basically updating the date, and the number of pages have increased. Condition 3 of the prior variance, this is page 3 of that 2023 variance. Again, I've underlined the proposed new language. So pylon and freestanding signs, no changes to the sort of first sections of that condition. But then you would amend where it talks about secondary pylon sign number 2. Instead of being 296 square feet of sign area, it would go down to 261.7 feet of sign area. And then it would recognize the one additional interior freestanding sign with a maximum square footage of 35 square feet, and then maximizing that, limiting the height.
But you're reading conditions from the original variance decision, not from the staff report.
Correct. right? I think because that original variance spelled all of this out, I think it needs to be amended in any modification that the board issues here so that the two decisions can be read in harmony. And I'm fine, as I mentioned in a prior slide, with adding a condition that contemporaneous with the construction of the interior freestanding sign, that Ella's Bakery and Tiki Port signs be removed.
Yep.
And I guess the other change, to the extent the board still wanted to think about the conditions in the staff report, the only one that I also really wasn't crazy about is number 3. I think the first sentence is okay. The proposed development shall represent full build out of the lot signage. Although, you know, there are directional signs that the building commissioner issues that are sort of outside the scope of the variance that the board issued. So I guess my request would be that that come out, and that instead we just be conditioned on the documents that were already approved with this modification. Or that language be revised to say, you know, further addition of freestanding or pylon signage beyond this approval is prohibited without prior approval from the board. Something to that effect. I just don't want this to be, there are little directional signs that the building commissioner does issue for the site, and I don't want this to language to preclude that from happening.
Yeah, I guess what troubles me about that is I'm not sure when the total signage area was arrived at, that it was explicit to mean just freestanding, internally illuminated, as opposed to any other kind of signs. So I'm not sure taking out that condition number 3 works. Or making the distinction here now as to what kind of signs it relates to, when that, well, I don't think was spelled out in the original decision.
Katie, how do you feel about that?
Well, one concern would be is that we're going to have tenants adding signage under the already approved variance. And I just wouldn't want the language here to trip up those future signs, because the already approved variance allows for different types of signage.
No,
and we haven't talked about building signage in this. This is just talking about freestanding signage. So if we wanted to say further addition of pylon or freestanding signage is prohibited, we'd be comfortable with that.
Well, Catherine, I have a question. What does lot mean? The proposed development should represent full build out of the lot signage.
Yeah.
Is that the whole 11-acre site?
27, but yes, the entire property. Which is why we're not comfortable with it as written.
Yeah.
You'd be concerned.
That was not, for what it's worth, that condition is not in the current variance that the board issued. The current variance conditions it to basically, actually, let me get to the right one. The different signage packages that we previously submitted and that were approved.
Yeah, it goes back to my original question, which is that I'm certainly slightly confused about how directional signage are approved from the building commissioner, which is fine, but yet not included in the overall scope of allowable signage. Whereas we oftentimes face this with people maxing out their allowed square footage of signage, whether, you know, so.
We did have
it happened
this.
on a property across the street, I think, in fact, that we weren't able to grant an additional sign for a business across the street because they had maximized their allotted sign usage. And, you know, whether or not directionals fall into that, I don't know how they don't, but that's my, you know.
They do. They do. No, you're right, Aaron, they do. So again, you kind of have to look back at the original variance that you granted as it relates to tenant signage. You did in that, this is sort of the building and tenant signage authorizations that were in the original variance, they limit tenants based upon their area, their location on the plaza to certain amounts of signage. So for example, if they were in tenant location A, they were allowed a total of 100 square feet of signage. I've had a lot of conversations recently with the building department about signage as we've worked through this one. So any directional signage has to be included in that 100 square feet. So it would be building signage and directional signage are limited by that 100 square, for in this instance, 100 square feet or 150 square feet or 225 square feet, whatever you already authorized, that includes building signage and directional signage.
Okay, so then in this case, any additional signage was going to need additional removal of pre-approved pylon signage if they're going to put up, again, because you mentioned that the building department's already approved some directional signage that doesn't supersede this menu board signage or right?
The variance decision treats pylon and freestanding signs differently than it does the tenant allocation building signage for the tenants. So that distinction is already made in the variance.
Yes, I think what complicates this. I'm sorry,
to Aaron's point, my problem is this talks about the whole 27 acres, and that's, I think, irrelevant for that's not what we're at here. We're at the tenant signage. I think that's Aaron. In other words, if some other store, there was already a signage code for the whole 27 acres, correct? I mean, we have signage codes. There was one across the street, and you guys got one too. We don't want to get in the middle of that or prohibit anything with respect to that. We want to limit our ruling today just to this particular property or tenant, however you want to define it. I think that's one of the things we're having. The second thing I'm saying is, what happens down the road if this tenant goes away and somebody else comes in? I would like to limit conditions to say that this extra pylon menu sign is specific to the tenant, and if the tenant changes, then that sign comes back to us or so. I mean, I don't know that it should.
Yeah.
I don't want a sign there that's not a menu board that's all of a sudden an advertisement sign for some other business. Is my point. And so that's why I want to link this pylon sign specifically to the tenant. If the tenant leaves, the pylon sign goes away, or you got to come back to the board to have us reauthorize it. I don't know if that's appropriate or not.
Yeah, I think
unfortunately, I think it's a little more complicated than that. I wasn't in the panel that decided this, but went back and read the decision. That decision divided the lot into various locations, and for each location, it imposed certain limits. Like for I'm looking at it now on my screen. For location A, total signage area per tenant, 100 square feet. And this was all in accordance with the plan submitted at the time. For location B, there's a different number. And so I guess the way I'm thinking about it, Attorney Cox, tell me if this is right, is we're only changing, you're only asking to modify the section that addresses pylon signs, correct?
Exactly. Yes.
Okay. Which is a separate category of that decision.
Yes.
So I think there ought to be a finding that says we're incorporating all of the the various number 2023, 22, except that for pylon signs.
Yes.
Right? Because that way, at least we're being consistent with the prior decision without having to regurgitate all of that.
1,000%. Yes. Which I think, again, respectfully, this does it, because this is not changing. If you go back to that 2023 decision, the only thing we're changing is this new freestanding sign package, which, to Paul's point, includes this exact graphic for this interior freestanding sign. And then, hold on, let me get back to that. And
So-
then again, going back to your point, Manny, it deals with only the last part of that variance decision and just changes the pylon signs. This does not change, these changes would not change what you've already approved in the 2023 variance regarding tenant A and tenant B and tenant C.
See, but you're talking about conditions.
Yeah.
And maybe it's, I'm reading the actual decision of the board, right?
Mhm.
It has particular area limitations for signs, different types of signs for location A, B, and C.
Not
None of that's changing.
correct.
And then it has a section that talks about pylon signs.
Correct.
And as you mentioned, it has three, right? There's a primary, a secondary pylon number one, and a secondary pylon number
Correct.
two. I guess what I'm suggesting is, and maybe you have this written out, is to say that the board is modifying that decision
Yes.
only as it relates to pylon signs in the following manner. Instead, you're taking the area forum, is it number one or
number two? It's right here. Yep.
Yeah,
So,
you're taking, just that, because otherwise we're going to be going through that entire decision. And
I completely agree with you, which is why this is what we're suggesting. This only changes the prior variance as it relates to what we've discussed today. Doesn't deal with any of the other authorizations.
So it's constrained to that specific tenant too, right? In other words, we're affecting two things. One is the signage for that specific tenant and the pylon signs. That's the trade-off.
Correct.
Right, Manny?
I think so, although I don't think it's unique to a particular tenant as much as it is to area. In other words, if the tenant changes, the wording changes, the name and so on, but we stay within the allowed area, I think we'd still be okay. Is that right, Attorney Cox?
So, I mean, I think the way that we're suggesting, so condition 2 of the existing variance says the site, and this is only relating, I'm only going to talk about the pylon and freestanding signs. I'm not going to talk about the building because we're not asking for any changes there. It says condition 2, the site signage shall be constructed in substantial accordance with the following materials submitted to the zoning board. 1, and then it refers to the pylon sign package. So they have to be constructed in substantial accordance with the pylon pine package. The original decision says dated, July 31st, 2023. We're asking that be changed to reference the current one. So the one that we submitted with this modification. So 12/17/2025, which includes the menu board sign. So I think that covers this. And then we're seeking to modify condition 3, as we just discussed, to reduce the allowable square footage in pylon 2 and move that into this interior freestanding sign. And then if you wanted to also add a condition, again, that Ella's Bakery and Tiki Port come down contemporaneous with the construction of freestanding interior sign, I'm fine with that.
Okay.
Yeah, but I would agree to this simply because a restaurant or a Panera Bread needs a menu sign because it's a drive-through for a restaurant. But if the new tenant changes and it's not a restaurant, I want that pylon taken out, or I want the ability for it to come before the board again to see what it's going to be. What's it for? I don't want to. I don't want it to become a permanent part of the pylon package. I want it to be linked somehow to the tenant, and it's a menu board.
So I guess I'm suggesting, obviously, the board that by modifying this condition right now, which refers to this package, and that package basically it starts here. I didn't include all of them, but it includes this sign. So right here. I mean, and then also includes this sign as the freestanding interior sign. So it, shows a menu board. I mean, if you wanted to be more explicit, I don't think, Katie, unless you have an objection, I think that's fine. But I think it's covered by saying it has to be the pylon and freestanding signs have to be constructed in accordance with this package, which shows that menu board sign.
My point is the content of the sign, not the fact of the sign. So it's a content. I mean, I would approve it, obviously, because you can't have a restaurant with a drive-through unless you have a menu sign.
Right.
But if I had a shoe store there, I'm not sure I want a shoe store sign in replace of the menu board. Instead of a menu board, it's a shoe store sign. So that's why I'm linking the pylon with the tenant with a menu board. That's all. The use. But I'll do what the board says, but that's my concern.
I don't think we have an objection to that.
I have a quick question to follow up real quick. Does this menu, so again, I know that from the original decision that each permitted use space A, B, and C are allotted certain square footage of signs. Is this attached to the Panera Bread? So they're gonna now have all the signage that they are allowed to, plus this menu board sign.
No, so good question. If you read the 2023 decision under the pylon signs, which we're proposing to modify, it says, in addition to the total tenant signage areas listed in locations A, B, and C, the following freestanding signs are permitted. So this is in addition to whatever A, B, and C allows for building signage.
Yeah, it sounds like a convoluted way, Attorney Cox, of adding more signage to Panera Bread's allowable signage.
Well, except we're taking it off an existing sign that you've already authorized.
Still,
that could all be Panera Bread
but
on that placard that we're removing.
I get that. We're allowing more usage for that space than is allowed in essence.
And I guess I would respond. I feel like the way this decision is worded is that you've given that sort of discretion as it relates to freestanding and pylon signs to the landlord to make that determination for the tenants, because that signage on the pylons isn't allocated towards the locations.
Again, this is just kind of ridiculous in essence that we're discussing this length, but I don't know. I certainly feel like there's a very convoluted way of Panera taking 330 extra square feet of their allowable signage use, plus directionals that have already been approved, right? That aren't going towards their 1,000 square feet of allowable signage.
No, so the directionals do count towards their allowable signage.
Again, that was I guess clarifying. I apologize, but so yeah, I don't know, man. I certainly struggle that we're going to be back here. Depending on what happens with Tiki Port and what happens in Alice Bakery space, at some point those buildings are going to come down and be added to this project. And I don't know. We're going to be shuffling the deck here of signage continually, for the next rebranding of this as this site continually gets built out. So I guess we'll take them as they come. I understand, but somehow I think the condition that was in place that limits this without further coming back here needs to stay. I certainly worry that that, and it just feels like a convoluted way of adding more signage to the Panera building. And but I don't know. I don't know about the removal of the condition, I guess, is what your question, where this all sort of stemmed from, again, was condition 2 of, does this, and Catherine's, sort of apprehension about allowing that to stay, but I don't think we should grant any further sign permitted without conversation. My opinion.
Yeah,
beyond what you've already approved.
Yeah, as long as it references what's already been approved. It's just that not all the signs that have been approved are physically built today. So we have tenants that are coming in that are allowed more signs. If we build a building next to Panera, that's not existing today. And so technically there would be new signs going up. That's all. So if we can phrase it as beyond what's already been approved in this previous decision, we're comfortable with that.
So what you're saying, Catherine, is when the two empty building lots there in that lineup, when each of those buildings come in, they have to come back to us for approval of signage?
No, that's what I'm hoping to avoid, is that we're building the buildings in the future and the signage criteria for the buildings is in the earlier variance. And I just want to make sure the phrasing of this variance doesn't confuse someone at the staff level in the future. That would make us have to come back to the board for building signage.
Whatever gets decided today, I think needs to be read in conjunction with the prior variance.
Exactly.
Because we're not relitigating all of that.
Correct.
And especially since that decision divided the lot into areas, right? So there's certain, and again, rightly or wrongly, I had my doubts at the time, but by doing it in terms of total area, I completely agree with Aaron, because you can reallocate that area. We'll be back here on a similar request when the next building goes up, because they may need extra signs that you're going to take away from the pylons, and the argument will be the same. We're staying within the total, and that's just the bed we made. I mean, that's unfortunately, by using that as the criteria, sort of total allowable signage. I agree with Aaron. I think having a condition that says changes other than the two that are being proposed here, the reference to the updated documentation and the changes in the pylon area, needs to come back to the board.
And I think we're fine with that.
Yep.
So the wording, Mandy, would be the proposed, number 3, the proposed development should represent the full build out of the area signage.
Yeah, it's not lot.
Right.
Maybe it would say build out of the signage as approved or outlined in decision number XYZ.
Yeah, area A or whatever area A is.
That way you link
approved.
it back to the
first variance.
Yeah. I think that works. Anna, does that make sense? I mean, you're probably hating this.
That makes sense. Liza, could you send me your presentation?
Of course,
when you get a chance? Thank you.
Of course.
So back to findings though, because because in the findings, we need to basically include I wish you could put, if you could, Liza, put that slide back up. Those two, because the point is this, I think, maybe I'm wrong. We're not exceeding the total area signage approved in the 2023 decision.
Correct.
We're modifying that decision in the following 2 ways. The construction of additional signs will be done in accordance with updated paperwork, right? That's 1. And 2, we're going to change the section on pylons to remove the area in one of the pylons and move it to a freestanding next to Panera.
Correct.
Yeah, but how do we write that in the findings?
Yeah, because we're really modifying 2 aspects of the original approval. One is we're modifying the pylon signage, and secondly, we're modifying the area A signage.
Actually, you're not modifying the area A signage.
We're increasing it.
No. Because the decision says, in addition to the area A signage, you can have these pylons. So you're not changing that. You're only changing.
Gotcha. So the pylon is part of area A.
It's treated separately.
Category.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, Paul. There's locations A, B, and C with its own areas.
I was just reflecting on what Aaron was saying. Okay, yeah, fine.
Yeah, it just,
I understand.
it just goes back to my this sort of attempt, and rightfully so, I guess, in essence, but to, add more signage to the Panera space than would be normally allowable by making it fall under the pylon category versus a
Right.
unit A, B, or C.
Right.
So that's all. Which is fine. It's all good. I don't care one way or the other necessarily, but
In a way,
I can't word that, so I'm going to skip the findings. And there's no possible way I can get that straight. So, somebody
Attorney Cox, you're introducing a new category.
Right.
Pylons
Yes.
and freestanding signs is what you're going to be naming it. That's why, Aaron, it's not really going to increase the location area total signage. Creative lawyering, she's now come up with a new category. It's pylons and freestanding signs, which can go into the areas, to your point, Aaron, would increase a particular tenant's total signage, but it falls under this other rubric.
Yep. I completely understand that it's
No, good for you, because I'm not sure I
totally
do.
good at this point.
Yeah.
Yep. I am good.
Yeah, so there's some way that we've got to limit this to this tenant. I don't know how to do that, but it has to be limited to the tenant until we get some relief overall.
What if you limit the freestanding sign to a drive-through sign that supports the approved drive-through at the Panera Bread?
Is there a number, Attorney Cox, associated with this building? Is it, is it in in area A? Is it A2? What building number is this in the big scheme of things? Is there a number?
I don't, Katie,
I
do
mean,
you know
just
the
because we
answer to
could do
that?
it that way, because it may not be Panera, it may become Taco Bell, it may become Kentucky Fried Chicken. I mean,
Right.
I hate to use the word Panera because it's whatever building number it is on the lot, if there is such a thing.
You could, I don't know, Katie, if you've
I'm going to look it up. It's just
building number, but you could, if you wanted, I think, reference that this sign supports, I'm just looking up the appeal of the drive-through that you granted. It's appeal number, hold on. Yeah, appeal number 2024-47, which is the drive-through that was granted by the board in January of 2025.
I mean, not to be a contrarian, but if it's an approved use and we're dealing with these in terms of area, does it really matter who the tenant is?
I don't think so.
Well, that's my point, Manny. So let's assign this approval to the building versus the tenant. That would be, again, that would clarify if, Wendy's moves in, because we all know about Wendy's.
Yeah, I mean, I think, again, if
Yeah,
you
we can tie it to
cross-reference
this
that
building.
2024-047 already decision of the board that approved a restaurant with a drive-up window, I don't think it specifies who the tenant is in that decision, but it allows a drive-up window.
Yeah, if it specifies a restaurant with a drive-up window, then I'm fine.
That's what
with
it
that.
says.
My only point was, if a shoe store goes in, now a shoe store's got a sign there,
I think that's a smart comment. Yep.
We're comfortable with that.
Okay.
Once again, I'm going to step aside on the finance because I'm totally lost about where we are at this point. Anybody else? Well, we got to, Herb, I'm not sure where we are procedurally. Have we done public comment?
We haven't opened public comment. I don't see there being much, if any. But as far as the findings go, I think we're making it needlessly complicated.
Mr. Chair, you should probably open public comment and then close public comment, please.
Let's do that, just to keep things moving. So I'll request public comment right now. Anybody wish to speak?
Make a motion to close public comment.
Second.
All in favor? Paul?
In favor.
Aaron?
Favor.
Manny?
In favor.
Deborah?
In favor.
And I am in favor. Okay.
Make a motion to, Mr. Chairman, to close the public hearing.
Thank you.
Second, Paul.
All in favor? Paul?
In favor.
Aaron?
Favor.
Deborah?
In favor.
And Manny?
In favor.
Okay. Now, we can go back to discussing this. I mean, there must be a simple way to do the findings because, and the conditions. I think referencing it as the restaurant, I wish there was some kind of building number like ABC or 182.
I have the decision that we granted the drive-through from that Attorney Cox so eloquently passed along. So 2024-47 was granted on January of 2025. So we can reference it that way, I think.
Yeah, we can reference the actual appeal. Okay. And Attorney Cox, that language that, does Anna have that now to incorporate into the conditions?
Terry, no. It's also, I'm going to send it to Anna, but it's also in the, we submitted an addendum with the application. It's the first page of our written addendum that we submitted to. So you have it, actually.
Great, thank you. So, Mr. Chair, somebody should probably read the proposed findings. Finding.
Thank you, Anna. Appreciate
this
that.
is Paul.
I'm gonna take a stab.
Any volunteers?
Yeah, I'll go.
Okay, thanks, Paul.
Okay, concerning midnight, appeal number 2025-040 WS Landing at Hyannis LLC. WS Landing at Hyannis LLC is petitioned for modification of variance 2023-022, which adopted statewide criteria governing signage for the landing at Hyannis. The proposed modification seeks the addition of one additional 35 square foot freestanding sign, pylon sign, without any increase to the total sign area approved for the site. The subject property located at 790 Hanover Road, Hyannis, Massachusetts, Assessors Map 311 of parcel 092 is located in the Highway Business HB and Business B zoning districts. I propose that variance 2025-040 is seeking to modify the addition of one single freestanding sign with approximately 27 acre within the approximate 27 acre parcel, which is necessary to promote public safety. It will not increase the total allowable signage area for the site. With all other conditions are effect, I propose that with conditions. Those are my findings.
Do we have a second?
Okay.
All in favor? Paul?
Aye, in favor.
Aaron?
Favor.
Manny?
Favor.
Deborah?
In favor.
And I'm in favor. And your conditions, Paul?
Yeah, there's 1 through 4 with the modification of condition number 3. I believe we agreed to, which would be represent full build out of the pylon signage? Is that what we could put in there?
Pylon or freestanding? Those words?
What about something like, if I could, Mr. Chairman,
Please.
the variance relief granted in 2023 022 as modified by this request shall represent full build out of the property signage, something like that.
Very good.
Good.
I like it.
How about that?
Katie, are you okay with that?
Let her rip.
Yes.
Those are my conditions.
Oh, I thought we were amending number 2 as well.
I think you should.
Or are we okay with that? Sorry, Attorney Cox?
I mean, I guess I would prefer that I would prefer that the conditions of the original variance as it relates to the signage, the pylon signage, be modified as I showed on this graphic, on the graphic.
Yes, and how is that getting incorporated into the conditions?
So you would say condition 2 of the original variance shall be modified as follows here. And condition 3 of the original variance shall be modified as is shown on this graphic.
Okay, so we could make that a condition 5.
Yeah.
And have these subsections or something of the condition.
And then I think you were going to add a condition to that the Ella's Bakery and the Tiki Port sign come down contemporaneous with the construction of the freestanding interior sign.
Yes.
And
So
all
that'll
that
be
covers, and all that covers the initial conversation about the granting of the drive-through and the drive-through and this sign being attached to that decision. We haven't covered that yet, have we?
I don't think so yet.
Yeah, I think.
So that was again decision 2024-47 on January of 2025. The decision this board made to grant the drive-through for that unit would remain. What was the language? That this pylon sign would remain with that decision.
What if I could, what if you
Sure.
said something to the effect of the proposed interior sign authorized by this modification shall support the restaurant drive-through authorized in appeal number 2024-47.
Works for me.
That'd be number 7.
Deborah, I'm sorry, could you mute your microphone? There's an echo, I think, coming from your. Thank you. Attorney Cox, that's okay? That would be added on as number 7?
Katie, do you have any concern with that?
Nope, that works for us.
Okay, and Anna and Jenna, you're on top of that?
I believe so.
Okay, so now we have a total of 7 conditions, correct?
Yeah, but in 3 modified.
And modification of 3.
And modification
believe
2, no? Didn't 2 get modified as well? No. Yes?
I think we talked about it and went past it.
Okay.
Okay, let's review the findings now, where we are before we approve them. In terms of the conditions. In terms of condition number 1, that stands as written. Condition number 2 stands as written.
Mm-hmm.
condition number 3.
Wait, back up. On 2, I thought we'd agreed. The thing is, if we need to amend the condition number 2 in the original decision.
Right.
So I thought we're going to include a sentence that say condition 2 in the decision dated is amended as follows. Because
Yeah, that's the graphic that Attorney Cox was shooting over to Anna.
Okay, so is that condition number 2?
Let's call that 5 with those 2 sub.
Well, we're not there. Okay. All right, we're not there yet. So condition number 2 stands as written?
No, it does. It's changed with the screen on your Zoom. Condition 2 would be substituted with the landing and Hyannis Barnes, right? Is a proposed pylon and freestanding signs dated 12/17/25.
No, that's
Existing-
referencing the previous appeal.
Man.
The graphic right there is two references to previous appeals that we need to put in on here so people don't have to go rummaging around 5 different appeals to figure out what's going on.
Right, and that's condition 5. That's condition 5, 6, and 7. Okay.
Yep.
So I'm just going down the list, folks. Okay. Yep. Number 1 we agree on. Number 2 we agree on. Number 3 we agree on with changes instead of full build out of the lot signage. We're going to change that to the full build out of the what?
The signage as approved in 2023-022?
As modified by this decision.
Okay.
Are we leaving in further addition of signage is prohibited without prior approval from the board? We're leaving that in, right?
I thought we'd say addition of pylon or freestanding signage. Again, to make the distinction between the approved area signage for buildings that haven't been built yet.
Yeah, that's a good place to put that in. Yep, I agree. Yeah. So further addition of freestanding or pylon signage, etc. And how about number 4, Paul?
That stays.
I think that's fine the way it is.
Yeah.
So condition 5 would be the graphic that we're looking at. 6 would be the removal of the bakery and the tiki port signage. And 6 was reference to, I believe Anna has that, right?
That'd be
I thought 6 was removal of the Ella's Bakery and Tiki Port.
And he misspoke. No, number 7 is going to be the one pertaining to the drive-through and the menu board signage being allotted to that, from that decision 2024-47.
Oh,
yeah. Okay. Oh, what did I call the tiki port sign removal?
You called that number. I don't know. It doesn't matter. Herb. We're good. We got it.
It's 6. It's number 6.
We got it.
How's that?
Perfect.
I knew I should have had more coffee. All right.
Okay, so Paul, can I make a motion to approve those conditions as amended and written, 1 through 7?
I think we're good. Yes.
Second? Anyone? Thank you, Manny.
Okay, all in favor, Paul?
Okay.
Aye, in favor.
Aaron?
In favor.
Manny?
In favor.
Deborah?
In favor.
And I'm in favor. Is Attorney Cox in favor?
No,
Thank you for your time.
Too late.
I wish I got paid by the hour. All right, let's go.
Mr. Chair, we need to vote on the
approval
grant of or conditions, or we have to vote on the application.
Modification. I make a motion to vote on modification as approved.
I second Paul.
Okay, all in favor? Paul?
Aye, in favor.
Aaron,
Aye, in favor.
Manny,
In favor.
and Deborah.
In favor.
And I'm in favor. Okay, you have the modification or whatever we're calling it. Very good.
We
Thank
don't
you
wanna
so
see
much for
again.
your time.
Attorney Cox, we don't want to see you again, okay?
Not for a little while. Thank you.
I'm
Have a
loving-
great night, everyone. Thank you.
Thanks all.
Thank you, everyone.
I'm loving the overtime. Okay, so correspondence, moving right along. We have 12226 Cape Cod Commission agenda. Oops. We have 12726 Witchmere SC meeting agenda virtual. And we have February 2nd, 26 Great Neck Road North hearing IP. And matters not reasonably anticipated by the chair or the vice chair. Anything? We have upcoming, anything?
Adjournment.
Yep, that's next. Well, we have to do upcoming meetings, hearings.
Yeah, there's
February 11th.
two of them. I won't be here for the 11th meeting, Anna and Mr. Chairman.
Okay.
Anna, is the 11th the continuation of the 40B?
Yes,
Yep.
it is.
Oh, shoot. There's a chance I may not be able to attend. We'll see. Boy.
Okay. Then we have February 26th, 25th rather, that is remote, and March 11th, 2026 in person. Now, was there something you wanted to make a motion to do there,
I
Aaron?
do have one question, actually, Anna. What does the 11th look like besides the continuation?
Maybe Jenna knows off the top of her head. I think there's 2 other applications. 3.
And so are they new business? They're gonna have to wait, right? So those applicants have been notified?
One is old business. So the 40B is a continuance, and then there's the Dunkin' Donuts sign is coming back.
Okay.
I think it's imperative that as a board, when we have big ones like the 40B, that applicants on the agenda the same night are aware of it. That's all. Because it's certainly going to run this long again, in my opinion. So I think it's imperative that we notify those applicants, my opinion.
Okay.
Not to hold this up any further. I make a motion to adjourn.
Second? Anybody? I'll second it. Paul?
In favor.
Aaron?
I'm in favor.
Aaron's already gone. Manny?
Gleefully in favor.
Yes, and Deborah?
In favor.
And I'm in favor also. What a surprise. Okay, good night, everybody.